and there's people in this room will bear testimony, and you'll hear hopefully the story later, if they're prepared to talk to me, of a situation where they came to me with a business that they wanted to get rid of. 100% didn't want anything to do with it. It was stressing them out. They didn't want to do it, and they wanted to change course. So we spoke, and I said, well, why would you want to do that? Is there another way around it? They have just sold their first £10,000 franchise. Now, is that quite a result, do you think, for someone who wanted to give their business away? So it's not, it doesn't make me any special, because I just advised them and guided them. I didn't do any of the work. They did all the work, which is a lovely thing doing what I do, you see, because I've, oh, what's happening there? Can you hear that? Oh, I'm wrong there. That's it. Yes. Are you, that's it, mate. Yeah, so that's the lovely thing, because after all this time, I'm in a position, fortunately, where money happens, right? And I really, really do this because I love doing it. I love seeing the change people can have, because everybody, they think that they've been chosen to not be able to make this stuff work, right? They look round and they go, yeah, he's lucky, or he's had a bit of luck, or this, that, and the other. There's no such thing as luck. It's just positioning yourself to take advantage of all the opportunities that are going to come your way. You see, the thing is that opportunities are always there. If you haven't got clarity about where you're going, right, everything is an opportunity. Every single thing you see, and that's what we call squirrels, or, you know, false alarms, or whatever. So because if you haven't got absolute clarity about where you're going, everything becomes an opportunity. So you end up with cups with broken handles, books. Oh, that's an opportunity, that thing. I'll get round to doing that later. So we end up with this big room full of junk that doesn't make any sense. Okay. We've all got the cupboard under the stairs, haven't we? Right. With all the rubbish in it. But it doesn't make any sense. When you're clear of where you're going, everything makes sense. And everything comes in, and I've decided to go, not witchy, but just go a little bit deeper in what makes things happen, right? So once you know where you're going and you've got clarity about where you're going, you start vibrating at a certain level, okay? But only, get this, only when it's coming from the right place, when it's coming from your programming deep down. So deep, 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 you've got to really check, do I believe this? Do I believe this? Am I going to allow this to happen? Once you start vibrating at the same frequency as what it is you want, whatever the distance is, you can't go wrong. What happens is we start saying, oh God, how long can this last? Boom, immediately you're vibrating at a different frequency. Conscious mind, I'm still on track. Reality, you're vibrating at a different frequency. So you can check yourself when you think things are going wrong, and you can always do a little bit of self-analysis where you will be able to work out exactly why you're not getting the results that you want. There is no quick fix. Trust me. If there was, after 30 years, I'd have heard about it, or I'd know how to do it myself. There's no quick fix. But all I can say is 100% with my hand on my heart, if you take notice of what you hear today, listen to the different stories. I'm going to relate a few stories of how programming works. If you take notice of it, you can do it. And you'll have the ability to question yourself as to whether, or to explain why it's your fault. Okay, will that be a good thing to take away from today? The ability to do that? Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off saying that there's an old story about Plato. Plato was a Greek philosopher, and he tells a wonderful story of how we get programmed. Okay, and he tells a story of, hang on, let me just do something up here. I ain't very good at this, really. There you go. He tells a wonderful story of some slaves that have chained in a cave, and they're chained there from birth. Okay. And what all they see is silhouettes of trees and animals on the wall that are lit by a flickering fire behind them. Then one day, one of the slaves slips the chain and he runs out the cave and he goes all through the labyrinth and he gets to the open and he sees the real animals and the real trees and the lovely fresh air. So he says, bloody hell, how long's all this been going on? This is amazing. So do you know what? That thing never rings. That is, it never rings. If it's for me, say I'm busy, Val. So he's standing there and he's looking, and there's this real tree, and he sees the animals, and he's smelling all this stuff. He says, I'm going to go back and I'm going to tell everyone about it. So he goes back to the cave and he starts telling all the other slaves what he's seen. Guess what? They don't believe him. He can't convince them that what he's seen is what the real world's about, right? And that's where a lot of people are with these teachings, okay? So I want you to imagine that I'm the slave that slipped the net, and I've gone out and I've seen the real trees, the real animals, and I've breathed the fresh air. And I want to come back to you and tell you what I've seen and what happens, okay? Because the biggest thing is that it's very easy to sit there and just nod your head and all that. But this has got to really get deep, okay? Not just surface level stuff. Get it deep, because once you take this stuff on board, it's absolutely unbelievable. So how do we get programmed? Well, when I was about 12 years old, 12 or 13 years old, and if you've heard the story before, I apologize, but you can't hear this stuff too much, to be honest with you. I've been talking about it for 30 years every day, and I still get excited, as you can see, about talking about it, because it's just amazing. 12 or 13 years old, I was at school with a guy called Lawrence Gilbert, who was either the great-grandson or the grandson of Jack Cohen, who started Tesco's. So he come up to me one day and he said, Croz, you won't believe what happened. I said, what was that? He said, I bought an old Sunbeam Talbot off one of his relatives or something that had been lying about in the garden. He said, I got hold of it and I cleaned it up and I sold it for 10 quid. Now, you've got to remember that £10 when I was 12 years old was a man's wages for a week, believe it or not, right? So as a young lad of 12 or 13 telling me that he's just earned a man's wages that it takes a man a week to earn for just reselling a car. Now, that went in. Now, I lived in a little village near London Airport called Colnbrook. The odds of me finding a car was remote, but that went in, because what went in, I was relating what he did to get the money. So it hit home. Anyway, lo and behold, 2 months later, I'm walking down the village High Street, went across a little railway line at the end, and I looked in and I saw a car, all dusty and leaning over to one side like that. And in it had a little thing, for sale, £5. So I thought, oh, that's handy. All the Lawrence Gilbert story going around in my head. Here we go, lovely. So went home, got my money from me milk round and me butcher's round and all the other bits and pieces, and I had £5. And I remember distinctly walking down to get this car, saying, I wonder if I offered him less money, he'd take less money. That's as clear as anything. What made me say it? So I went along to the house, and in my best car dealer's voice at 12 or 13 years old, I knocked on the door, said, would you take 4 quid for the car? He said, you cheeky little bastard. He said, I will. So he took me in, and them days it was an old green logbook, and you used to handwrite your name in it, take it up the post office and all that, and they'd stamp it and say you bought it. So I've now got a logbook to a car. I walked back down the village. I said to me, Mum, she said, what? She said, come with me. I've got to go and pick a car up. What? So I'm dragging her up the high street. So we get to the place, jumped in the car. The bloke showed us all bits and pieces. One problem. Mum was a district nurse. The only thing she'd ever driven was a Morris Minor with a floor gear change. This had a column change. Oh, God, so I said, where's the first gear, mate? So he says, put your clutch in. So he puts it in first gear and off we go. Boom, 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 jumping down the high street, stayed in first gear all the way home, through the arch and back into the back of the house. Well, I spent all weekend cleaning that car, and it came up as if it had just left the showroom. And all I had was an old bit of cloth and, a bit of soap, washing up liquid and what have you. And then I put it on the Monday morning. We were right on the high street, and we had a coaching house, so where the old stage coaches used to go back through. I parked it in there, and it was gleaming. We used to say in the old days, it looked like a shilling up a sweep's arse. It was absolutely gleaming. And I put a little sign in it, for sale, £25. I think I'll give Lawrence Gilbert 10 quid, £25, chance in me arm, £25. Knock on Abington, that was the name of our house, after 4 o'clock, because that's when I got in from school. Well, Monday evening, I come in, there's a bloke, 10 past 4 bloke, knocked on the door with £25. £25, right? He's bought the car. Now, I've earned 2 men's wages for cleaning a car. Now, programming. Here we go. This is what happens. A long bit of a story, but leaning in, how do we get programmed? My dad, bless him, spent the next 2 months every day telling me that would never happen again. That was like getting struck by lightning. It could never, ever happen again. Now, that's what he's doing. Now, he's not doing that to harm me. He's doing that so that I don't program myself to think, God, if I see another one of them, I'm definitely going to do that. Because if I don't see another one, I might be upset. So really and truly, most of the programming that you get in life comes from people trying to help. Now, my dad's trying to convince me it will never happen again. Right? Luckily, I never took that on board, because when I was 17, guess what I did? Opened a bloody car yard, right? And it stood me in great stead. But can you see the programming that if I'd have bought into the fact that it could never happen again, my life would have been totally different. And so many times in your life, you will find people giving you advice that is absolutely not serving you, but trying to prevent you from doing something that might not work, right? That's the worst that can happen. You do something and it won't work, but they would think it's better for you to do nothing. Okay, so how do we actually get our vision grounded? Okay, and I call it the CMI, and later on I'll do a little bit of a thing which I call the science of success, a little 3-part formula that's guaranteed to change your life. But how do we keep our vision, our clear mental image in our mind? And because the thing is, it's no good having your mind up the road in the future. It's no good having your mind in the future. And I'll talk about integrated alignment later on, but it's no good having your mind in the future. You have got to enjoy that now. And everyone looks at me and go, he's on drugs. How on earth can you enjoy what's going to happen in the future now? Well, let me tell you a little story. When you go on holiday, right, you go and you get the brochure, or you look online and you go through everything, and you sort of all of a sudden you settle on a holiday. Pay the deposit. Where does your mind wander to as soon as you've paid that deposit? You're on holiday, right? You're kidding to yourself, aren't you? So when every time something goes a little bit wrong, it don't matter, in 6 weeks' time, we're going to be on the beach enjoying ourselves, right? So you can actually live the future and enjoy the future now. Does that make sense? Right? So once you get a little thing like that, and then I say to you, right, you've got to generate an image of where you want to be in the future. Right? Now, the funny thing is, until you actually learn the rules, you will create a lovely picture of roughly what you think you can get. Right? You won't stretch yourself because you won't believe that you can actually get what you're putting down. Does that make sense? So what you do is you make it easy, the little escape route, or do that. And then you've done it and you try and work back, reverse engineer. Oh, how will I get there? You don't need to know how you're going to get there. You will get there providing you've got the clarity, right? And it is definitely what you want, not what you think you can get. So once you create that image, right? And you could listen, you can do it because when you're sort of thinking about your holidays, you know, one day you'll be thinking about lying on the beach with a nice gin and tonic. Another day you'll be thinking about going around an old set of ruins or something or whatever. But so it's quite flexible as long as you're clear about what it is. But the funny thing is, if I tell you now to project into the future, what could possibly go wrong in your life, right? What could possibly go wrong? Every one of you is an absolute expert in projecting rubbish, projecting things going wrong into the future. Who's good at doing that? Show of hands, right? Could have projected everything going wrong, okay? And then knowing where you're going gets your results, knowing that, do you think it's a good idea to keep projecting into the future what's going to go wrong? No, not at all. And that is a good 50% of what is holding you back. The fact that you are projecting into the future things that are going wrong, because the universe is in perfect order. You are in control. So whatever messages you're putting out, right, are the messages that get delivered. Now, listen, when you start saying things are going wrong, 9 times out of 10, exactly what's happening is what you was predicting was going to happen. 9 times out of 10, it's crazy, isn't it? And you don't think about it. You don't correlate the two things, right? Because you're lying to yourself, you're kidding to yourself. Once again, it's, oh God, it's all gone wrong again for me, poor old me, right? But that's not how the universe works. The universe is your faithful servant and will give you what you want, right? But the point is, we keep putting out mixed bloody messages, right? Now, if you went into a restaurant, okay, and you just sat at the table and the waiter come up and said, yes, sir, what can I get you? So, oh, bring us anything. And he brings you something to eat and you don't like it. Whose fault is it? It's your fault. He's just done what you've told him to do. That's like the universe. You're putting out there, what do you want to eat? And you're saying, oh, anything to do, right? So you've got to be specific, right? Because if you're specific, you get what you ask for, right? If you're not specific, then you're just going to get anything that's dished up, and that's no good. Now, I was working, and specifically for the coronavirus and all that, where we've all been locked up and we're all having a bit of problem putting things into perspective. I worked something out the other day, is that we are very rarely with our physical body. Think about it. We're very rarely aligned with it. Our thoughts of where we are is very rarely aligned with where we physically are. And I thought about it and thought, I could come and pick you up and say, you're absolutely, oh God, everything's going wrong and you're in a terrible mood. And I said, come along, I'll cheer you up. I'll take you to a party. Now that party, champagne's flowing, lovely swimming pool, everything's going beautifully, but you've still got the shits, right? Now, every single person at that party would have said, that was a great party. But you, because you weren't physically and mentally there, you weren't aligned. So it was terrible. So one of the things that you can do very, very simply, right, when you're having problems, is to make sure that you are aligned, right? Now, and people say, yeah, but you've just told me to think about the future. Yes, but I've told you to do it in the present, right? Because everyone's got all the little tricks where they say, I'll trip him up. I've got something, I'll trip him up. Oh, by the way, if you've got anything, questions, put them in the chat and they'll check them, because you might forget what they are. So just tap them in and we'll cover them and try and trip me up. Because I love it, right? Because I've had it all over the years, right? So they say, but how can you say align where you are when you've told me to think of the future? But if you remember, I said, no, that's where we're going. We're enjoying it now, right? So you're anchored in now. But a lot of the time, if you're not anchored in now and you're dreaming of other things, you're divorced from your body. Now, the thing is, you have got to be aligned, and any thought that you transmit into the future or whatever has got to come from now. Does that make sense? So that you're saying you're enjoying it now, saying, oh, that'll be fine. But what we tend to do is we tend to sort of project into the future and we say, I'm here and I'm going there. And when I get there, I'll be happy. So the signal to your brain is you're going to put happiness now on hold, right? Until you get to where you think you're going to be happy. And we all do it, right? We all do it until we train ourselves not to do it, right? So why do you want to go that complete distance, right? And be miserable until you get to the point you're going to be happy. But guess what? If you arrive at the point where you think you're going to be happy and you've been miserable all that time, what's the odds of you being miserable when you get there, right? The odds are, so every single day, and I tell everybody, you've got to look after yourself. We all ignore ourselves, right? We are the most important person in this process, bar nothing. If we're not happy and getting hold of a few quid and enjoying our life, we're no good to anybody else, right? We have got to work on ourselves. Once we've conquered that, then we can be helpful to other people. But if you can't get yourself in order, you've got no chance of serving other people. So make sure that you really concentrate on looking after yourself. And I have a laugh with clients because my main thing, right, is to relax, because none of this works unless you're relaxed. Okay. Now, I learned that the hard way, because any of you that know my story, and there's a few people here that don't, but I lost everything when I was 40 years old through someone I actually loved as a son, worked behind me, and it was easy because I wasn't watching me back. And eventually he took over the business, okay, which was easy because I wasn't watching everything. Every time he asked something, what I'd do to help. But I ended up with no money from that situation, right? Well, I thought I was skint, and this is a great lesson, right? When things change things, right? So I think I'm skint. I've sold all I can before the banks got hold of it, because you know what they're like vultures, and they sit in their way in. Right? And the minute they heard that we was in trouble, they were going to be swooping, like they were going to nick all the bits and pieces, all the toys, the house, and all that sort of thing. So I beat them to it, and we sold everything, admittedly in a fire sale, but we ended up with $250,000. Now I think I'm skint, because from where I've fallen, I am 250 grand ain't going to cut it. Right. But everyone around me thought I was okay, got a few quid, 250 grand. You've taught me nearly 30 years ago. It was a bit of money. Right. So I hadn't reframed. So now my mind is working. I'm in stress mode, right? And I tell you what, you could not have been as stressed as I was at that point. I was on the verge of losing everything, and I've got 250 grand. So, in my wisdom, I decided to use that 250 grand and get the millions back in 5 minutes what I'd lost, right? So that was a clever thing to do, wasn't it? Didn't put any thought into it or anything, just sort of said, right, that's it, do something. Well, we ended up going into a restaurant, which was a great idea because in a previous life, we'd had hospitality businesses. And I'd said to Val at the time, I said, listen, darling, if I ever get tempted to go back into hospitality, beat me over the head with a baseball bat, because it's the hardest way known to man to get hold of any money. Well, unfortunately, she couldn't find a baseball bat, so I can always blame her for this move. She didn't beat me over the head. So we ended up going into this restaurant, right? So we ended up going into this restaurant, and after 2 years, right, we decided that it wasn't going any. It wasn't a total failure, but it was just we'd made a mistake, and you got to own up. Right now, this is what this thing is for, and this can be a prize. This eventually. See what it says on there, right? Can all read that? Sunk investment. Make a decision based on right or wrong, not how much money and effort you've invested. So we're there making a decision on. We'd spent 250,000. We've got 2 years, 80 hours a week each. And at the end of it, we're now working out whether it's any good or not. And I say, it wasn't a total loss, but it wasn't doing what it should and what have you. So we're making a decision. Now, this is where I learned that. If I'd have made my decision based on the fact, well, I've invested 250,000, not an unsubstantial amount of money. I've worked for 2 years, flat out, me and Val. Everyone else has got paid except us all the way through that, right? Trying to get back in 5 minutes, what it took all that time to see, don't make any sense in the retelling, but it's quite embarrassing telling you about it. But I think it's important that you realize all the stuff that I'm telling you comes from real life. So I've got to make a decision now. I've got to make it on right or wrong. I must not consider the investment, and I must not consider the time and effort put in. So I say to myself, we talk about it. Is it serving it? No, we're not enjoying it at all. What's the option? Well, because it hasn't actually really rung a bell, and the place we were in was a new, like it was a cinema thing that had just opened, and we were in the foyer. It was still like trying to get its way, and so the chances of selling it were pretty remote. We could have kidded ourselves, but what were we selling? We were selling someone a job, right? If they had a wife where they could work 80 hours a week each and break level. So we decided to quit. Now, the funny thing is, when I rang the landlord and told him that and said, don't bother to chase me because you've had everything, right? All the bits and pieces, everything. I tell you what I do, I'll leave it exactly as it is, so it don't look like anyone's done a runner, because it was right in the foyer, right in the firing line. So I said, and then you can rent it out. So we made that decision. Now, how do you think I felt? It was possibly one of the best feelings I've ever had. That don't make any sense, does it? I just put the key in the door and walked away after 2 years trying to get a bit of money back with nothing. And I felt quite charged up because I'd made a decision. And then that day, we didn't have to make a big bloody pile of profiteroles or any more gattos or do anything like that. It was wonderful. It felt absolutely brilliant, right? We've made a decision, sunk investment. So if any of you is in that position, is anyone in that position at the moment deciding whether things are going to work out or not?
I was, but not anymore.
Who's that?
I was in that situation. I owned a house and I couldn't, and I wanted to get rid of it. The guy paying the rent stopped paying the rent, and it was in negative equity, and I spent ages and ages and ages, and he kept on causing me problems. And then I just surrendered it and walked away from it. It was brilliant. It was his problem, not mine.
Right. And you felt
Relieved. I slept really well
right.
that night.
And that's the thing, is you see that making a decision, right? However hard it is, once you make a decision, it sort of releases an awful lot of tension, because the tension is caused with fear of making a decision, right? Think about it. Most of our fear comes through not wanting to make a decision or not doing that. So that's a great thing. Make a decision, and then at least you're on the other side. And making a decision is what distinguishes us from other species, because we've got this debating thing about us. Most other things in life are natural. Their program is set. We're the only thing in nature that tries to reprogram. Do you know that? It's unbelievable, isn't it? Why would we want to bother when we're programmed perfectly for success? When we arrive here as a newborn baby, the only two things we're frightened of is being dropped and loud noises. Everything else you're frightened of, you've learned from well-intentioned people like my father, God bless him, trying to tell me not to expect to earn money without putting too much effort in, right? That's where your information's coming from. So it ain't a bad idea to, when you start doing things that contradict what you're being advised or guided to do, to actually say, where did that actually come from? Because if you live in a household where constantly, you're told money don't grow on trees, you're told, oh, good, how are we going to make ends meet? Or, eat everything up. I mean, when I was a kid, my mum used to spend hours sitting at the table with my eldest brother, holding his nose till his mouth open, poking food in it, because she was taught, right, when she was young, food was a bit scarce, so you didn't leave the table till you'd finish your food. Luckily, I was a greedy bastard and never let anything anyway, so it's all right. But I used to sit here looking at my brother thinking, God, why don't he just give in? But so his thing then, he become very, very fussy all through his life, and he's gone and well, God bless him, but all through his life, he was always fussy about what he put in his mouth, right? Purely and simply because he'd been force-fed through that period of time. So where our programming comes from, and we're all programmed totally differently. Every single person here is programmed uniquely, right? And I say, think of a house. Now, we've got, 30 odd different pictures of a house, agreed? Now, if I sit here now and I say, right, blank your mind, think of a lovely little cottage in a forest with a thatched roof, smoke coming out of the chimney, lovely little green front door, and a little picket fence round it. We've virtually got 30 of the same pictures, right? So we can be programmed. So everything that goes in your head programs you, okay? Unless you sift it. I mean, I don't know what you lot are doing at the moment about the news and everything else that's going on, but any of you that are sitting there at 6 o'clock every night switching the bloody news on and wondering what's happening, I would suggest you change that now, because that ain't clever. We find most of the stuff that we sort of information about what the rules are and all this, that, and the other, we're getting from other people that have told us. So if there's any information that is going to be directly relevant to you, it will find its way to you. Like if they said, Gordon, that all 40-year-old Scottish geezers with bald heads were going to have their left arm chopped off, I guarantee it wouldn't be long before someone rang you and told you about it. So you don't have to go searching for the bad news, right? You don't have to go searching for it. And the good news, you ain't going to find it there. You ain't going to find it on the telly, right? The good news, you go and create for yourself. Make sense? So anyone who's still doing that every night, probably, I won't even do it. Val, sometimes, I'll just watch the headlines. And no, I won't. I'm out the room. I don't want it, right? Oh, catchphrase. Yeah, that's what we do now. We're hooked on that. Catchphrase. 6 o'clock straight over. Boom. Bit of the chase. Bit of the chase. The chase. Yes. Brilliant. Val, can you mute? Can you mute, Val? That's it. Yeah. So, yeah, it's lovely, isn't it? I wish I had one of them in real life. Val, can I just mute you? What if you had a little button and you could do that to your partner? Gotcha. Anyway, so you are, once again, you're in control. When I lost me the business, every morning I got up and thought of all the horrible things I could do to the bloke. Right? You know, chop his arm off, run him over, all the horrible things. Now, that was my day was starting like that. Right? So what chance did I have of generating anything or creating anything once I started the day like that? So you are in control. Who believes that they're in control? Show of hands. Right. Who lets other things control them? Come on, you can be honest. Don't matter. So, right, Joanna, without picking on you, you don't allow outside influences at all to control you. You're in control.
Most of the time. I mean, obviously, I think as a mom, sometimes you can be controlled and influenced by wanting to do the right thing by like your kids and everything else as well.
Yeah.
I like to think pretty much that I kind of, external factors, like whether it comes to financial or bills that come up unexpected and everything, okay, you can't control that. But for decision making, I would like to think I kind of have 80% of it.
Okay. So, right, that's brilliant. But listen, concentrate, because I think Joanna's lying to herself a little bit now. I think you're giving me an answer what you think I want to hear rather than the thing. But you think about that, right? But I got a funny little feeling that you could be buffeted a little bit, right? And but actually that's part of our programming, to just say, well, that's it. Oh, well, that life's meant to be hard, or that'll be all right. It's not. Life is meant to be easy, right? Look at nature. Look at an old lion, what he does. He lays about all day, doesn't he? Then he thinks, oh, bit hungry, get up, let's go and catch an antelope or something, right? Take it back to mum. I'll have my little bit of grub first and I'll go and lie down, right? They don't create problems. It's their program. Everything in nature is perfectly programmed except us. We seem to want to make things difficult, right? And once you learn, let's have a show of hands, people that work with me. What's the easiest thing to get in business?
Money.
Money. The easiest thing to get in business. Now, there's one or two shocked faces there. That is the easiest thing to get, is money. But we make it the hardest. Programming, right? Money don't grow on trees. Well, it does, because if it's paper money, that's where money comes from, isn't it? Trees. Paper's made out of trees, isn't it? Right? So really, that was a wrong thing to start with. I suppose that was said before they had paper money. It might have been when it was bronze. But anyway, so all this stuff that you've been told is wrong. The easiest thing to get out of your business is money. Who believes that? Seriously, hands up. Who believes it? Right? Louise, unmute Louise. Can you unmute? You didn't put your hand up, Louise, so I'm picking on you. All right. I just want to find out, why do you think money is the hardest thing to get in your business?
Listening to you now, it's probably because I've told myself that. I don't find it easy selling and all that. Talking about me, I don't like doing any of that. So I probably just told myself that it's the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, but you're making it hard. What do you do, Louise?
It's HR, but it's products that I've created on the back of HR. Right.
Okay. So to me, the hardest thing about your business then would be the knowledge of what you're creating the product out of and what you're selling. Right? Now that's strange, and I should think that would be the same answer for everybody else. So the hardest thing in your business is the knowledge and wisdom that you can use to generate the money. But you think it's easy because you know how to do it. And that's why you're selling it to others. Make sense? Because other people, it's like when you first saw someone tie their shoelaces, you thought, bloody hell, I'll never be able to do that. It's the most complicated thing you can think of. In fact, if you try and imagine how you tie your shoelaces, you can't imagine it, because we all do little thumb here and all that, and but pull the loop through and then double do it. Everyone ties them different, right? And when you first saw it, you thought, bloody hell, that'd be marvelous. Now we do it without even thinking, right? So what was a hard thing is the easy thing. So what you've got to do is you've got to flip it. Money is the result of what you do. There's two things in the business: marketing and sales. Now I'm going to complicate it for you, Louise. Listen carefully. I'm going to make it really complicated for you. You've got an HR business, right? Now your marketing strategy is to go out into the wide world and find one person that wants what you sell. Right? Now, there will be a process to do that, right? So when you find that process, lock it in. Number two, when you found someone, you see, people mix marketing and sales up, and that's what gets them confused, right? They're two totally different things. The second point is sales. You've got someone who's interested, and you take them through to a point where they say, I like that. How much is that? That's your sales. Now, that's as complicated as I can make it, right? Now, once you've gone through the first process, whatever it is, Facebook ads, standing on a box in Hyde Park corner, shouting, whatever it is you do to attract that person, and you can get them to a point of saying, Louise, I'm interested in that. Tell me more, right? Then that is your first process. Lock it in. Because if it's worked once, guess what? It will work again. What we make the mistake of doing in business is every time we hit an hurdle, we change the process, right? The process ain't wrong. The circumstances have changed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So the first thing you got to do, create your marketing process. And once it works, just keep repeating it. Rinse and repeat. Now you've got someone interested. Now we've got the sales process, whereby we might send them something. We might tell them a few stories. We might show them a video, and we take them on a little journey from I'm interested to Louise, bloody hell, this is brilliant. I want this. That's your sales process, right? Then if you get the sales process and repeat it, guess what comes as a result of doing that, Louise?
The money.
Money. So the first thing you've got to do, forget the money. It's got nothing to do with your business. Two processes, marketing and sales, right? And once you get them two processes sorted out, that's all you got to do. Keep repeating them. But what we do, we listen to people telling them, here's the new great whiz bang thing that all you do is push a button and it CRMs and things, all different things happen. And you don't do anything, and then people turn up on your door with a big tray full of money. No. Unique to your businesses are two processes, marketing and sales. Get them sorted so you ain't got to concentrate on money anymore, Louise. The worst thing you can do is focus on money, because you know it's quite a limiting thing, right? There's someone who's sort of working with someone once, and I think it was on about $8,000 a month. And I said, but I want to get past that. But that's what they locked in here. So every time they got to the $8,000 in the month, because they're watching it all the time, they shut off. So as soon as I told them to stop thinking about it, guess what? They started taking more, and they were getting more as a buffer, right? So you've got to take your concentration off the money. The money will become a result of what you do. All you've got to concentrate is those two things. So do that, Louise, and let me know how you get on.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay. So, and the other, another thing that we do tend to do a lot, and a lot of little stories. What we tend to do is we tend to start working on something in the wrong place. Always stand back. Now, I always advise people, if you're stuck, take a little tip out of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Use one of your lives, phone a friend, right? Because someone who's distanced from what your situation is will always see the problem. Now, there's a lovely story of a woman lived in the 44th floor of a block of flats in New York. And she had this crack and she kept picking it out, filling it with filler. Who's had this happen? Fill it with filler. Then the next 2 or 3 weeks later, you got the cracks back, right? Who's had that? We've all done it. But what we do, we either leave the crack and ignore it, try and ignore it, hang a picture over it or something, or we keep repairing it. So what she done, she thought, I'm fed up with doing this. So she rung a guy and he turns up, lobs into the place, looks at it like that, and he runs out the door. She said, where are you going? He said, down to the basement. She said, but the crack's here. He said, I know, but the problem's in the basement, right? Now, she could have spent the rest of her life filling that crack, would never, ever have solved the problem, right? So when you've got a situation that is confusing you, ask someone. It's the greatest thing. Because I relate it back to, you imagine, I'm sitting when the business all went skin, I've got 250 grand, right? Now, I always laugh about it because, well, you do now, everything that goes wrong, you laugh about it eventually, but, right? So you imagine 250 grand. If I'd have paid myself 25 grand a year for 2 years, right? Lived on that, after 2 years, which it wouldn't have been that long, but after 2 years, theoretically, I'd have rested, done nothing, and had 200 grand and known what to do with it, right? So once again, I've learned the hard way about asking for advice. When you're stressed, I don't care how clever you are, and there's some clever people in here, I can see them, they're all nodding and everything now, saying, yeah, I'm the clever, right? But there's some clever people, and it doesn't matter how clever you are, you will never, ever make a good decision when you're stressed, right? Ever. So when you're stressed, the first thing you've got to do, if you've got to make a decision, is calm down. Because none of this works, none of it, unless you're relaxed, right? That is the key. But what we're doing all the time is we keep going back to the thing of hard work, money's being difficult to get, and we're spinning the bloody wheels, we're spinning the wheels, and we're getting nowhere. Loads of smoke, dust and everything, smell of burning rubber, but we're not actually getting anywhere. So if any of you at this point in time are in a situation where you're stressed or you are worried about a situation, the first thing you've got to do is calm down, right? And the last thing you want to hear when you're stressed is some silly old bastard with grey hair and a beard coming up and whispering in your ear, I'll tell you how to get over this little problem. Relax. What? Right? You can't want, it's the most unnatural thing that you want to do when you're stressed, right? Absolutely the last thing, but you've got to learn to do that because this stuff will not work. And the thing is, don't kid yourself. We all lie to ourselves. We all say, well, I am relaxed. And underneath we're going, hovering 2 inches off the ground. I am relaxed. Honestly, I'm not really stressed, right? So just do it because you see, there's so many different things that make us do stuff, right? But it's all programming, right? If you'd have been taught from birth, every time you got stressed, someone had come along to you and said, just relax. You do when you're a little baby, don't they? Oh, just relax if you're crying, just relax, right? But as we get older, we're told that it's the right thing to do because we feel if we're not spinning the wheels, if we're not stressed, we're not doing all we can. But the reality is that when you're stressed, you're doing the least possible because you're actually achieving nothing. So you see, everything's all jumbled in our mind, right? It's unbelievable. So another little tip there, none of this works unless you're relaxed, because you've got to allow it to work. They talk about the law of attraction. I call it the law of allowing. You've got to allow everything. You've got to allow stuff to come to you. You've got to allow stuff to unfold. And you see, the most perfect thing that we can do is what they call in flow. You've all heard of being in flow, right? Which means that you're not sort of fighting anything. You're just allowing things to unfold. And I liken it to a little leaf going down a stream, right? And the little leaf's floating down there, and it's lovely, not a care in the world. And it sees a log. Now, what we do when we see a log, we say, I'll tell you what we can do. Let's go and get wedged behind the log, right? Or I wonder what had happened if I got wedged behind that log. No, the little leaf just carries on like that. Then it comes to a waterfall, which is just a natural thing when water's flowing and the levels change. So it allows itself to go over the waterfall, just nice and relaxed. And eventually what happens? It all calms down again and on you go. That's life. But we fight it. We fight it all the time. We're like a salmon trying to go up the waterfall all the time. If you're forcing anything, right, you're doing it wrong, right? If you are forcing anything, you're doing it wrong. So if you're forcing something, or it's a real effort, look at it, right? You're doing it wrong. And if you have to, phone a friend. It's easy. Okay. So what we're actually doing here, and you've seen this, right? What we're doing here, if this is a visual for you, right? In that glass are your problems, your stress, your anxiety, okay? And this is your awareness. The glass is your awareness. Now, if I spin that really hard, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? It's all going to come out. We've got absolutely no control over it. And that is where we are at the moment. This is our existing awareness, and these are our existing problems. Now, if you take on board what I'm saying, you will build a bigger container. A, B, C, easy to remember. All we're doing is building a bigger container, because the more aware we are, the more control we're going to have over our problems, anxiety, etc. Make sense? Right? So all we've got to do is take on board some more awareness. And there's been a few things today which are flying in the face of everything. When, you know, it's a bit upsetting, isn't it, when you've got a business that you sort of, you know, you think all these things are involved and all these buttons and bells and whistles, and you say, well, hang on a minute, there's only two things: marketing and sales, right? The other stuff's all the hard bit, the production of making it what it is you sell and all that. So don't complicate what you're doing, right? There's no need. And that's something, that's awareness, right? That is awareness that you know, right? That once you are aware, you've got more control over your stress, your anxiety, and your depression, or whatever it is, because you're taking control. Now, Joanna, she's going to build a huge container today. Right, Joanna? Build a really, really big container. Right. Now, over to the famous board. Oh, Val, can you get my... Oh, I might be all right if I bring this over, because I normally have a big extension lead on here. I might hang myself. If I fall off my chair, hang on, we'll be all right. Okay, so this is a lovely visual, right? Now, what I do is I'll photograph any drawings that we've done today, and then I'll put them up so you can have them. So you don't need to draw it down unless you really want to. Oh, Val, go into my office, will you, and get the extension lead? It's on the right by my in tray. She's gone like a faithful servant. Right, so this is a visual of how we can take control of our stress. We need 100% of the data for our mind to function properly. Anything less than 100%, we start searching or worrying or making things up, right? I am going to, is that it? No, it's the one with 4 bits on there. It's in, I think it's in a little packet. I think it's still in its packet. It's got to have 4 bits on it, otherwise they can't hear me. Right, I'm going to open a business, right? Now, that your mind can accept that, but what do, Louise? We go, oh, what the bloody hell can go wrong? Right? What's going to happen if this happens? What's going to happen if that happens? So 80% of it, your mind's got total control over. 80% has got total control, but you now have made, you can't see the future because you are putting in all the what ifs and if this happens in the last 20%. I might have, let me just have a little change over here. Is that it? That's the one. That's it. That's me special one with the 4 things on it. Right. Excuse me while we just do a technical. What the hell's going on here? Can you hear me? Ah, lovely. Right. I didn't have it plugged in right. Right. So bear with me because this is a great one, because once things are visual, because we think in pictures, right? So the 100% is easy to accept. I am going to open a business, start a business. 100%, no problem. But immediately now, you are putting a hurdle here, which is what can go wrong. Remember I said earlier about you can always picture the bad things in life, but we find it very difficult to picture the good things. So instead of saying, I am going to open the business and I'm going to earn loads of money, it's going to be so easy, everything's going to be lovely, your brain could accept that. There ain't no hurdle. You can accept it, but you won't produce that. You're producing problems, right? So 20% is your problems. So the first thing to do is you've got to say, right, if you're stressed at all about anything, you've got to ask yourself 2 questions. And those that have seen me before know what they are. Number 1 is, have I done everything I can? I'm going to say all instead of everything because it'll fit in easier. All I can. That's the first question you've got to ask yourself. Now you're stressed to the max, right? Have I done all I can? Yes, you've said I'm going to open a business. So this bit here is all in your imagination. So if you can't turn that into good thoughts, you've got to bring it back to here and make the 80% the 100%. Does that make sense? You've got to get rid of all them other things. Have I done everything I can? Is there anything else I can do? That does not exist. So you're now bringing 80% is now 100% because you've got rid of the problems. Have I done everything I can? Is there anything else I can do? Because Croz is giving you permission, right? If you've done everything you can and there's nothing else you can do and you carry on worrying, you don't need me to help you. You need a bleeding straitjacket and straight up the mental hospital, right? So I've got my permission that if you have done everything you can and there's nothing else you can do, you can forget all those things, but there's a rider. I will deal with you when you are real. Deal in real. So you're not actually ignoring it, because it's very difficult to just out and out say, right, that. So, but I'm going to open a business. And if any of those things happen, I will deal with them when they're real. Because do you know what the funny thing is in life? Every single thing that we've ever encountered that is real, guess what? We've dealt with it. No one here has got something in the past that's been a problem that hasn't been solved. Right or wrong? So we have got the ability to overcome every hurdle when it's real. The only ones we have trouble getting over are the ones that don't exist, right? So, and if we say, what are you worried about? Oh, well, this, that, and the other, but that's not real. If you know, when you actually talk to yourself about it, the only things you ever really, really worry about are things that you can't do anything about. So it's bad enough having something that's real that is a problem, that's going to take a little bit of effort. But when you're actually trying to solve something that don't exist, you've got to give yourself a good talking to. All right. So there's Croz's little secret of how to de-stress. And you've got my permission that if you've done everything you can and there's nothing else you can do, imagine me sitting on your shoulder. Just forget it till it's real. Deal in real. So is that helpful? Because this is all self-talk. You've got to talk to yourself, because you've got to bed this down. And a lot of this makes all the sense and everything now. Then you'd be 2 or 3 weeks time, they'd be going, oh shit, well, you know, you'll say, oh, I'll do it when it, you know, when things change or whatever. Listen, there's no flexibility. These rules are 100%. The only person that can stop you being a success is, guess who? You. 100%. So does anyone want to have a quick break for 5 minutes? Anyway, what I was going to say, we have a quick break for 5 minutes, then I'm going to do, and anyone who wants to think about it, I'll do a little bit of live coaching. If any of you got anything that you think like you'd like I can help you with, I won't embarrass you or, you know, mention anything. So anyone who'd like live coaching, and then we're also going to have a chat to you got your we're going to
Well, I think you need
Just
to
say put it in the chat box, Danny.
it's what?
Just put it in the chat box. Any questions?
Yeah, and then what we're going to do, I'm going to if they'll agree to it, well, I've got that feedback. I don't know what's happening. Then we'll have that little chat where I'm going to talk to a couple of people that have worked with me, so that you can see that you don't have to be anything special to make this stuff work. All you've got to do is allow it to work. Because once you start trying to control everything, right, that's the problem. Because if you knew how to do it, you wouldn't need any information to help you do it. But we all get this thing of saying, oh God, how would that happen? You don't have to know. And like in the next bit, I'm going to show you how to create the science of success, and it cannot fail. So I'll see you in 5 minutes. I'm just going to go and get myself a cup of coffee, and we'll be back here in 5 minutes and get stuck in again. How are you doing so far? Are you enjoying it or not? Okay. All right. We get stuck in a minute. See you in 5 minutes. Hang on.
Only somebody said they've got to change devices, and will we let them back in again? And I can't get back to the waiting room.
Who is the host? I haven't got a clue. Right. Can you hear me? Lovely, 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 lovely. So, where's Simon's? Okay. So, Simon, the thing I always struggle getting my head around is being a creator, how I can grow and earn more without getting someone else to do the work, which I'm working on. Great session so far. I have lots of notes of actual value. Right. Okay, Simon, where are you? Put your hand up. Let's have a look at you. Right. Okay. Now, what you're doing is you're committing a cardinal sin. Okay. Because you're saying that when everything's okay, I will make the move. And everything will never be okay until you make the move. So what you're doing is you're stuck. Now, whatever you do in business, right, is normally a bit of a stretch. It's what we call transitional disruption. Whatever you do, whatever change you make is going to cause possibly a little bit of transitional disruption. Now, put your mic on and talk to me. What do you need to make your business leap forward, do you think?
I think it's kind of the type of, can you hear me?
Your mic on?
It should be. Should be. Can you hear me?
Talk then.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
This thing must have gone wrong again then.
Gordon's got his phone.
Oh, yeah, I got you again. Yeah. Okay. So what do you need? Tell me.
Off the top of my head, I think it's higher value clients as a, not just that, but obviously transitioning towards that kind of area.
Okay. So what's stopping you getting higher value clients?
Again, off the top of my head, where to look and belief in myself.
Right. Okay. Because half of the problem, because we've got a young man in here that we might even have a little chat to later, who used to think that a certain amount was what he should be charging. And yeah, and now he can't even bring himself to mention that price because it doesn't represent the new place he's at. And I believe you do a bit of work with Chris anyway. So listen, the first thing to do is all in here. Now, the first thing to do, and obviously I don't want you to punish Chris in this one, but the first thing to do, if you want to make more money, if you raised your prices 25%, what would happen at the end of the month? See, the thing going through your head now, right, is, oh, everyone had run a mile.
Yeah, correct.
I wouldn't get no pay. So you're stuck forever. You ain't never ever going to be able to charge more. The secret of charging more is, number one, value what you do. Right?
Yeah.
The hardest bit about your business is your ability to do your designs.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think that's the easiest bit, don't you?
Yeah.
So when you go and tell someone how much it's going to cost, you believe that they know as much as you, but either they haven't got time to do it or whatever. So when you go and open your mouth and really you want to be saying 300 quid, you're going 150 quid and you got your fingers crossed behind your back. True or not?
At times I'm getting better, but yes, most of the time.
But the point, listen, you see, a lot of what you've said here now is off the top of my head and this, that, and the other. No, this is all natural. You don't need to think about this. Now, listen, you are going to lose. Anyone who's money driven, right? You're going to lose them on price. If all the only thing they're thinking about is price, but they ain't the people you want.
No.
You want the people that appreciate what you do, right? So what you've got to do is tell more people how good you are at doing what you do, right? And a lot of people, they find it a bit difficult to blow their own trumpet. Fortunately, I'm not one of them, but a lot of people do find it a bit difficult. So you've got to start. The only thing you've got to do is transition the value what you do right? And the ability to transfer that into a financial statement and be able to say it, right? So instead of sort of going 300, you go, so how much would that come to? Or about 300 quid. Might be a bit dearer depending on what, right? So all of a sudden you're comfortable with what you're doing, right? Our brain is an uncanny thing of the control it has over us. If you are pricing that and you think 300's dear, guess what your client will think?
Yeah.
Guess what your client will
I
think?
think it's dear.
They'll think it's dear because that's what you're putting out. We're talking about the vibrations, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about a vibration that it's okay, but you're telling them on how the message you're giving them that you think it's dear. So the first thing they're going to do is say, well, how much, Simon? You must be able to do better than that. Now, imagine this conversation. That's 300 £300. And in your mind, you're thinking, that's terrific value because they're going to have that on all their bloody things, their T-shirts and this and that. Fantastic value. In fact, you might have done that a little bit cheap, but I'll run with it. What message are you sending to your client?
Yeah, you can't believe it.
You put it across in that way, and they still say, can we do it any better? Then they ain't listening to what you're saying. So you just, if they say it's dear, say, well, against what? What are you judging it against? Right? What are you judging it against? I've never done any work with you, this, that, and the other. So all you've got to do at this point to make a major change in your life is number one, and I don't want you to put Chris's up or he'll be on the phone to me later. But just put your prices up.
Okay.
Right? And you're going to get people, even if you if you put your prices down, you'll still get people telling you it's too dear. And the best thing to do, rather than putting them down, put them up.
Yeah.
Because if you are competing, you can't win in the graphic design game because there's people that do things for nothing. So if you're competing, you can't win. Be creative, right?
Okay. Yep.
Just sell that. Get a big thing of, whenever you've got to do the sales pitch, just show them the things and give them the story, give them the tale, and have the courage to just say the belief in yourself to put that price. Okay?
Yes.
That is the next thing you've got to do. Put your prices up and value what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's all up. It's all up here. As I say, don't, and the thing is, you'll put your prices up and someone will say it's too dear, and you think, oh shit, shouldn't have listened to that silly bastard. I'm going to fucking go back to doing it for nothing again. I was much happier when I was working for nothing. No, you're much happier when you're getting a nice few quid for doing a lot less, right? Yeah. So all you've got to do, because whether you put them up or down, someone will say it's too dear. So put them up and be ready for that, right? Be ready for it. And all you've got to do is to say, be creative, never competitive.
Yes. Right?
Immediately you start being competitive, it's a race to the bottom. Be creative. Don't even look at anyone around you. You don't care how much they charge. You know, and I know we can get a logo done for £10 in India. So what? Go and do it if that's what you want to do, right? This is my price, and this is the sort of thing that I produce, right? So just get confidence in yourself, boom, and that's the next move. Up your prices and get confidence in yourself, and practice the thing of saying it's great value rather than thinking, oh God, I've got my fingers crossed in case you think it's too dear. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. Anyone else got a quickie we can do? Is there any others there, Val?
I have one. I struggle with balance.
Who am I talking to? Put your hand. Oh, Claire Marie. Yeah, lovely.
So I make balloons, which is time creating, which I cannot ever give that kind of up, or else you're not really getting what I give. But what I struggle with is that balance between advertising. So what I'm finding I'm doing at the moment is I've got like 2 weeks of really busy build time, where I've spent the previous 2 weeks kind of talking to people, getting the bookings in. And then I've got 2 weeks of really busy build time where I can't speak to people. And then I've got 2 dead weeks where I'm like, oh, I need to go find customers again. And I'm struggling with getting that balance right. So I've got a kind of consistent flow.
Yeah. So yours is quite a unique situation because it's a unique product, right? Some of the things you make are really amazing, right? So all you've got to do is get what they call an everlasting message, right? Because basically what you're doing is the same thing, but if someone reads about it today or in 6 weeks' time, it's the same message. So we call it a everlasting message, right? So keep that out there, and however you can do that. You see, I don't think all you need to do is to get pictures of what you do out there, because I think it's stinking cheap, right? So there's different occasions where your thing will apply, you know, weddings, when we get people getting married again, and all the different things. So just find all the different bits, but give the people the information. This is what I did for Mother's Day. This is what I do for so-and-so, so that you get a nice little picture. So whatever you're doing, all you can really do is say what you can do. I think your price positioning is irrelevant, because they ain't going to walk up the street and find someone who can do exactly the same. So they either want you or they don't. I don't think it's going to be a price-driven thing. So all you need to do is let people know what you've got and get them to the point where they say, I'm interested, and then just take them on the sales journey. All right.
You do get a few which think they can buy the kit off of Amazon. And I'm like, please crack on and buy the kit. And then they come back and say,
link.
I can't do
it. Listen, the first thing you've got to do, listen, everybody take notice of this. This is Croz's secret to a successful business when things are all going well. Always make a decision based on your business running flat out. You'll never make the wrong decision. You're flat out, got all the work you need, and this person has asked you if you can do it. How much are you going to charge them? You can take note of that as well, Simon. Right? Always make a decision as if you are flat out. All right? And you'll never make the wrong decision. Okay, so I'm going to take you on a little journey now. This is, are you prepared to talk to me, Stephen, Michaela? Right, put your mic on.
Here we are.
Okay. Now, Stephen, Michaela are clients of mine, and they're going to agree to talk to you. Now, they came to me, what was it, 7 months ago?
It was actually just about as lockdown started, about a year ago.
About a year ago. And they were absolutely sick to death of their business, and they wanted to get rid of it and change direction. Right? Do a Tracy, tell people a quick story of what's happened to you since, and I want you to round it off so we can all give you a big clap at the end. All right? So
you've stolen the punchline from us already.
Right, okay, but they've forgot all that. They're not listening, none of this, like they're not really listening, they're just.
So about the beginning of lockdown, we had 2 great businesses. I had a coaching business and had a family law business. And then as lockdown hit, family law stuff went up, and I already had the coaching stuff, but I absolutely hated the family law stuff. Like, there was a lot of negativity.
The bloody clients.
Bloody client. Like, it'd be great if it wasn't for the bloody clients.
Yeah, all businesses are like that.
Yeah. So we went to Croz, and my first conversation, because I was the one that was probably more pissed off with it than Stephen, said I don't want to have anything to do with it. I'm properly
walking away from it.
Yeah,
sick of it.
I
Years.
properly wanted to table flip the whole sodding lot. And then we came up with a plan, and Croz said, well, if it was making you money, like real money, how do you feel then? It's not so bad then, is it? Okay.
Not running yourself ragged, working Devon 7 days a week, as quickly as we can, just to pay the bloody bills. This is what we did for years.
So we put a plan together and came up with a franchise. Now, you know, we take this on a journey, and it absolutely has been a journey. And one of the things that we've learned along the way is to kind of reframe exactly where we are. And now we're at the point where, like Croz said at the beginning, we've just sold our first £10,000 franchise.
Clap.
Thank you.
And we're planning, the first next step is to planning to have a dozen, and then we think maybe hopefully about 50 on the go at once. And we've got 3 or 4 more people we think, you know, on the cards for, you know, for coming on board as well.
Yeah. And I was always really super picky, because I thought I wanted to make sure that, you know, I wanted everyone that gelled really lovely with the team. And do you know what? I think what's been beautiful about this journey is that we've not had to compromise any of our values, anything that's important to us. And we're just really going strength to strength. But we have had to reframe, like now, we've just paid our holiday like today for June.
Yeah.
And we never dreamt of doing that.
And a big part of what we're doing is we work on making things as simple as possible, and also automating things as much as possible, and basically relying on basically a process that's going to work over and over again. You know what? So what we do is, I mean, Michaela does more of the actual legal side of stuff. I tend to do more of the background stuff and the automating stuff, and it means we don't have to waste our time doing the same thing over and over again, because the systems and the process we've got in place basically just pretty much take care of themselves as much as possible. You know, obviously the more automated the better, but that's an ongoing process that's always getting better.
And we have changed, I think, not just as a business, but I think we've definitely changed as people. I mean, I remember when Croz suggested that we put the franchise as 5, and I'm not going to lie, when we're sort of having these meetings, we both took a sharp
we said we couldn't do 5k, never mind bloody 10.
What? Yeah. So we've definitely changed as people, and are much more confident, and you know.
And
yeah.
It's funny enough what you were saying just now, Croz. When you're talking to Simon about worth, do you know what? £10,000 is an absolute bloody steal for what we do.
Yeah.
You know, if you're serious about taking on one of our franchises, if that's what you want to do, right? Yeah, you will make the money back and more, but it requires you to do the work, and it's as simple as that. We're worth it.
Precisely. So the thing is, there, you see, with regards to pitching it, trust me to pitch it correctly, that would be fine. 5 grand, you'll get, as you know, anyone who's not going to be interested at 5 won't be interested at 10. So you ain't lost anyone. It's only in your mind. And once again, you see, the thing is, when you know what you do, you don't value it. When I'm looking on the outside, looking in at what you offer for that, in fact, we might go up to 20 grand next year, depends, because it's all a game anyway. So it's only a game. Let me just ask you one question, right? When we started, could you, in your wildest dreams, and I want you to be totally honest, in your wildest dreams, have imagined what could have happened?
No, absolutely not. If I'd have said to myself back then, you know what, Michaela, fast forward 12 months, not even 12 months.
Do you know what, Croz? I've got to tell this little anecdotal story from years and years back, because we've been doing this family law business for about 14 years. I remember when we were 3 or 4 years in, me and Michaela, we had to get public transport from here in Mid Wales to my parents in Essex to pick up a second-hand car. And at the Victoria train station, she lost it in front of me, in front of rush hour, Victoria train station, effing and blinding me. It'll never bloody get better. You keep promising it, never do anything, you know. And yeah, that's funny to think that happened. That was, I can still picture it in my head.
Yes. So
but
yeah,
now you know that that's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Yeah. We've got to kid ourselves, right? Because if we don't believe it, it won't happen. And that's basically in the journey. I've been your belief, because I say to you, do you trust the messenger? So I can do the belief on your behind. You can relax, because you say, well, if Croz is going to do if Croz is going to say that's okay, we've got faith in that. So your belief is via me.
Yeah, and do you know, Croz, we always take the attitude, you know, if we're not going to listen to what you're saying, we might as well piss off and go somewhere else.
There's
Save
that
you
there's
money.
that analogy that Stephen always comes across. It's a bit like Forrest Gump, you know. So how do you do it? I'll just do as I'm goddamn told. Excellent.
But the point is, you see, and that's a great thing, is that there's no point asking for help if you don't do it. I mean, this only works. I mean, I never say you've got to do anything. I just say if it hasn't worked the next week, you've obviously done something wrong or you didn't do your own work or whatever. Because I can always blame you. Because I know 100% that if you do these things properly, you can't fail. All right.
Absolutely.
Thanks very much for that. Well done. Brilliant.
Thank you, Croz.
So Sonia, Val's just slipped me a note to say that you have got trouble valuing yourself.
Well, you know this, Uncle Cross. I think this has been my sort of big problem.
So, okay, we won't tell anyone who it is I'm talking about, but if everyone listen now, and I want a show of hands at the end, okay? Everyone listen. If there was someone that was trying to be a role model to women of a certain age, right, to empower them, and that person had created a property portfolio that supports them, so it's not nearly maybe or whatever, a property portfolio that supports them. They've represented, they've been on the O2 as a bodybuilding person and represented whatever, and they've run a successful business whereby they have interviewed some top people in various things of life and done 82 shows, right? Would that person be worth listening to, in your opinion? Would they have something to say? Show of hands, up or down. Would they have something to say? Right. Would they be the type of person that you could listen to and say, well, they've been there, they've done that, so therefore I could possibly accept that? Yes or no? Right. So there's your answer, Sonia. Right. All you've got to do is get on the outside and look in. Right. Because you've got it all, but once again, right, that the ability to sort of create that property portfolio, and a substantial property portfolio, right, with a lot of assets in it, and it's supporting you. Now that's everyone's dream. So you've actually created a dream. Who would like a property portfolio that supports you on a day-to-day basis? Every single person here. Who'd like to know how to do it? They are. That's it. Then the other bit is the case of setting your goals and your dreams. So the only person that ain't listening to Sonia is Sonia, because you are undervaluing it because you've done it. Think of the effort that you've had to put in to do your bodybuilding and model stuff and all that. The amount of effort, the early mornings, the late nights, eating the right thing and doing all that, doing it, right? Now, because you've done it and achieved it, you don't value it. But there will be a lot of stuff in there where you can help other people on that journey, right? And you committed to doing your show and you've done it, 80 odd shows, brilliant, right? So I think that you've got to do the work on yourself, because when you're presented up and put there, and no one's saying that just because they're saying it, you've achieved it. But as I say, you've got this thing inside where you're not actually appreciating what you've done.
Yeah, and obviously we're working on it together, and since our sessions, I've been able to see things that I've never been able to see before, which has been amazing. And obviously I've taken decisions of not going down certain roads, going down the business road. And
if I can just say something here quickly, see that, and I'm sure Sonia won't mind me saying this, but you see, Sonia was going down the road of trying to create something that everyone could look at and go, look, that's what I've built, for justification, right? But really, without any fanfare, Sonia's already built that in the property portfolio. Because all we really want at the end of the day is to get enough money to live without too much effort, right? It doesn't matter, because I tell you what, I've seen businesses that turn over 500 grand that earn more than a business turning over 3 million, right? So it ain't about the big facade. At the end of the day, the only reason any of us do any of it is to get money. And all the people that say I do it for the good of humanity and all that, that, you know, lovely, but you don't.
But I think I confused being busy and working hard with money. So literally for the past 2 years, I've been working my socks off and not sort of charging money and feeling like, well, I've got to carry on working and being busy, and then the money will come.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was busy for being busy's sake.
And that's it. And that's a great thing. And that's a great realization.
Yeah, and we've
so that's great. But you listen, you're in great shape. Don't worry about
You've helped me realize that. And that's actually was a massive breakthrough for me, because I was always one of these people that had to do and found it very difficult to relax.
Yeah.
And that one bit, and it's just a little nugget, but it's just transformed. Yeah, it has transformed my life.
Then the other day she said that she didn't feel like what do I do? I ain't got nothing to do. But the thing is, there was still the same amount of money coming in. So I said, relax until you find out what you've got to do, because you've got to allow all this to happen. One little quick word from Chris, if I may, do you mind talking, Chris?
Yeah, no worries, mate. I mean, you've got me working overtime today, mate. So it's a late shift, this, mate. Trust me, it's a late shift.
But I just want situations where anyone's sitting here thinking this is like all waffle, right? Just tell us very quickly your story.
Yeah, so I've been working with Croz for about 2 years now. So once a week we have our chats and conversations. So myself and my wife Lindsay, who's out of the picture to the left, the brains of the operation. There you go. So basically, what we really focused on was actually changing. It's not about the business. It always comes back to yourself and changing who you were. Billy from Barrow was basically what was going on. So I was basically living a life still of who I was previously, and with those values. So those values really had to change for me to really truly accept who I was today. So I'm not Billy from Barrow. I'm actually a multi-award-winning business owner with a national web design business. So I expect my life and my clients and how I conduct myself to actually be ruled by those set of rules, and the rules that I've created myself for my life. So I have a wonderful life now. I'm incredibly blessed. As I say, I'm usually done. I know I've got some clients on here, so trust me, we give you a top service, but I'm done by 1 o'clock. There you go. Secrets out of the bag. I'm done usually by 1 o'clock. And do you know what? Scruffy Monkey is just part of my life. It's not my life. So my business is Scruffy Monkey. It's about my happiness. My happiness brings my clients. That brings my success, and my overall future is set, and we are fully in control. I am highly blessed. We've had some incredible things happen to us. I mean, some of that Croz won't know that's landed in our inbox in the last 24 hours. We've had a huge approach from an organisation called the Educational Empowerment Fund. These are a huge organisation. They are patrons of Katie Tunstall, the head of Eden, Chris Packham, some seriously big names, and they're wanting to work with us directly. And this isn't through hard work. This isn't through massive marketing. This is about the vibes we are putting out there. It's all very, very cosmic and all that hippie stuff. But it's true. I want you all, that people that know me, if there's one thing that I want to get across to you, go and have a look at my Facebook feed. Go and have a look at it. It's about having fun and enjoyment and the gratitude of life that I'm living. And that's what it's about. And it's all very much connected. So all you people who are putting all the negative vibes about how you're living your life and all the struggles might be why you're struggling. And that's my advice for you. So thank you, Croz. The best is yet to come. Thank you.
Always expect success. So let me ask you, if 2 years ago I told you where you were going to be now, could you believe it?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't mind sharing with the group. It's a private group. So what we're taught with, and accountants are going to freak out on this. So we don't actively monitor our financial situation because we know it's just going to happen and arrive, and it's going to take care of itself. I was made aware of how much money was in our account last week. So I asked for an emergency conversation with my accountant because I wanted to withdraw a load and have a good play with it, because there was a lot more than I ever expected to be in there. So we're doing some more wonderful things with the house. Lindsay, I saw out the corner of my eye, has been looking at those places in Florida again this afternoon of where we're going. And that's what it's about. And we understand that spending the money is going to attract the money, playtime. And that's what it's about.
All part of the journey. And the thing is, you see, that I so clearly remember the first meeting with Chris and Lindsay, with Lindsay sitting in the background, absolutely stressed to the max. I said, what's your problem? She said, oh, about the bills are due in a week's time, or this and that and the other. And that was the only thing on her mind all the time. Now, Lindsay don't even think about the bills. She just pays them when they come in, and that's it. And that is the switch that you've got to have. As I said to you earlier, once you take the money off as a goal and make it the result, don't ever make money the reason, just make it the result. And the more that you can ignore it, the more that you'll get, because there's always a nice little surprise when you actually go and have a look, when you actually bother to check it.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention for people like Simon as well. So you mentioned me regarding pricing, so I don't mind sharing at all with the group. So my typical sale price a few years ago was about £500-600. If I'm doing less than £3,000 in a sale now, it's a choice whether I take it on. That's the reality of the situation. So my sale price now isn't limited. It's just limited by what's here, not the messages of the old days. Because my association and relationship with money has fundamentally changed. So I can ask for what I feel that product is worth to them. So price is what you feel it's worth. So you've got to get that feeling and just realize money is just a number. Strange but true.
Yeah, precisely. Brilliant. Well done. Well done. Has anyone got any questions about any of that? Has anyone got any questions of saying, well, that's all right for them, but it wouldn't work for me? Is anyone there can think that? Becky, come in and talk to me.
So I'm quite a new startup, so for me the money side of things is quite an important one right now. My startup was funded with, the remnants of redundancy money savings.
Right.
So it was literally the dregs of what was left in the account. So things are starting to run short at the moment.
Yeah.
And I'm still just trying to build traction behind.
Becky, what is it you do?
4 or 5 months old now.
What is it you do?
At the same time, my brother-in-law has offered me a kind of part-time job to go alongside it. So yeah. It's, while it's, I'd love to be in a position where I don't have to think about the money. But
okay, so what is it you do, Becky?
So I create monthly online games. So
right.
They're games designed to help people get together and enjoy life.
So how's that going?
It's quite steady, but it's not covering itself at the moment.
Right. So this is survival mode, and
yeah.
Right now, you cannot be entrepreneurial if you're worried about paying the bills. Okay, think about it. You cannot be entrepreneurial if you're worried about paying the bills. So the first thing, forget your business at the moment. whatever the shortfall is or whatever you feel you need, you've got to do whatever it takes to get that money in, right? So when you're doing what is not to do with the business, you're grateful because it's allowing you to run your business. And when you're doing your business, you're grateful for that job because it's letting you think properly. Whereas if you don't get your mindset right about survival mode, it's a terrible place to be, because you're doing whatever you've got to do to get the money in the door, which is not part of the business. And you're going, shit, oh, if only I could be doing the business. Where your real thought should be, I'm so thankful for this because it's allowing me to do the business, right? Then in survival mode, you're doing the business and you're going, you're not doing it properly because you're thinking of the shortage of money, right? Now, the shortage of money is your dominant thought. What do you think that will produce?
Bad results.
Shortage of money, guaranteed, 100% guaranteed. So what you've got to do is you've got to get yourself out of survival mode, right? Now, what happens is that if you need to supplement your business for 2 days' work that you can get somewhere that's going to make everything fine, the 3 days that are left to work will start generating more money than you've ever thought possible, because you've took away the stress and the strain of the shortage. You've now covered that. So therefore, when you're doing your business, you're not worrying about the bills, you're just doing your business properly. Because most of the time, see, when you're in survival mode, you're always going down the track. You're never clear on what you're thinking because you haven't got integrated alignment. Your body's here, but your mind's everywhere else but with you, right? It's about, you know, or what's going on over there, or, you know, you're trying to do something, but you're thinking about paying the next bill. So your mind is all over the place. So the secret with survival mode is aligning your body and your thought, so that when you're doing your business, all you're thinking about is generating the business and the business working properly. Because the thing is, Becky, it's a secret. You do games, right? Business is a game.
Yeah.
Chris could still go back. He could go back and start charging 600 quid. He wouldn't get no more clients, by the way. But he could go back and charge 600 quid, but it's only a game. In fact, we had a game the other day when Chris told me he'd charge 3,000 for a thing. And by the time we'd finished, I said, I think you've left a bit on the table there, mate. What did you do, Chris?
Yeah, I went back and got 4. And then what the bit that you don't know, because I've had another conversation with them,
Yeah.
I'm going to fill you in next week. They're now wanting to spend more money.
Oh.
So it's going to be more like 6 or 7. True story. Absolute true story.
So the thing is that, look, that's it. And as I say, we have a laugh. All the people are, it's a game, right? And it's like the 10 grand for the franchise. It's a game, right? If people don't want to play, that's up to them. But the thing is, if you treat it as a game, right? Because we all know we could all work for nothing if we wanted to. Great. But the only reason that we're doing it is to earn money, right? And that you turn it into a game. Like Chris there, I think you've left a bit on the table. We're laughing about it. So I'll go back, have a go. What's the worst they can say? No, that ain't gonna hurt, is it? Right? So treat it as a game. Make sure that you get out of survival mode. And then when you're doing your games bit, you're not worrying and thinking of everything else. And you'll find that things will pick up almost immediately once you're totally focused. How does that sound, Becky?
That sounds like a good plan.
So just get stuck in and focus. And I guarantee that things will change. The minute that you align your body and your mind onto that thing and you focus on it, everything will sort itself out. Guaranteed. Anything else? Anyone else got a question? Anything? Anyone there? Put your hand up if you do. Right. Young Charlotte.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much so far. I've actually been very much in Becky's situation. where I found myself working for everyone else and running everybody else's business. And it was lockdown that kind of made me realize that. But I think what I did was scrap the B plan. I never had a B plan in my life. And I listened to Arnold Schwarzenegger and realized that for once I had a B plan, and that's what made the business not work. I needed to scrap the B plan and stick just to A, but obviously needed to make some changes because obviously you've got to pay the bills, so you've got to find a balance. But one thing I wanted to ask is it, because I think I went too much the other way and then not worried about money because I decided I was going to put in my savings, not worry about money. And actually, I think I lost a little bit of like focus of, you know, you still need your targets. So I just wanted to ask about that balance because sort of when we relaunched and sort of worked on the business, we were focusing so much not on the money that at the end of last year, I thought, hang on a second, we've just lost focus on targets. So what would you say about that, please?
Well, there's nothing wrong with the target, but make the target not about money. So make the target a treat when you certain things happen, certain indicators happen. But let me just say one thing, right? That I believe that life is a straight line and work gets in the way, right? But we need to do it. My theory is that the least time that you spend working and the more time you spend playing, you win, right? But it doesn't mean, see, none of this is a charter to be irresponsible, right? It's all about, you know, when you've got to work and you know when you can play, right? Chris jokes that he finishes at 1 o'clock. Well, I know full well he does finish at 1 o'clock, right? But if there was something that needed his attention, then he'd work through. It's not, you know, it's not a case of being, so well, I always finish at 1. You've got to be aware of what you're doing because your business is the vehicle, right? So once you accept the fact that the business is the vehicle, you will automatically know when you need to play and you'll automatically know when you need to work. But with regards plan B, the safety net, right? That's if it's totally different. Don't ever confuse that with being flexible, right? Because a lot of people say, oh, I haven't got a plan B. Well, making a different decision to go on a different route, providing you know where you're going, that's just a detour, right? Providing you know where you're going, that's not plan B, that's a detour, right? That's being sensible. It's like if you went out in your car now and there was roadworks, you wouldn't sit there and wait until the roadworks were finished before you moved on. You'd go a different way around. So that's not a plan B, that's a detour. So don't confuse it. Plan B means, oh, if all else fails, I'll do this. And you're planning another business and took your focus off that one. Because everything is about focus, right? That's why I said to Becky, get your survival mode sorted, because unless you can focus totally on your business, it won't get you to where you want to go because you're not giving it what it needs. And all it needs is for you to focus and allow it to develop, right? And I know certain people, and I don't know if he'll talk to us, I know certain people that keep trying to change the rules, don't I, Paul? You're going to hide him now. You don't want to talk to me. See? But see, Paul's a lovely fella. But Paul is one of the exponents that is totally convinced that these teachings won't work for him, aren't you, Paul?
Yeah.
Right. So however much we bring people on here, does you think Chris is making it up, Paul?
Completely. Chris is a barefaced liar. I know he's having food from a food bank, he told me.
Lovely. No, but listen, all joking aside, Paul has got a good business. Now, the other day he said to me like that he was certain thing was happening and he was a bit worried about. do clients work. But once again, it's all financial focused with Paul. He can't divorce himself from the process and just say, repeat the process and the money will take care of itself. Let me just tell you, Paul has just recently moved into a 4-bedroom detached house. He's bought, 5-bedroom, sorry. He's just bought a brand new vehicle, and he's just converted half of his garage, because it was a big double garage, into an office. And Paul's worried that things are a bit tight at the moment. Is anyone surprised they're a bit tight? I certainly not, right? So listen, one of the main things that you've got to do at all times is reframe. Value where you are, okay? Because what tends to happen is until you reframe, you don't actually appreciate what you've achieved. You don't appreciate where you are. And one of the greatest things about reframing is that you upgrade your programming, because Chris used to be built from Bolton, and he believed he was built from Bolton. So he kept persecuting himself because he didn't believe people thought he was a businessman. He thought everyone thought he was built from Bolton, until Chris changed the thought process and said, I am a bloody businessman. I have got a good company. I have got that. Then all of a sudden, people started believing that he was a businessman rather than Bill from Bolton, because you're in total control. This is what we keep giving away all the time, is our ability. It's only the story we're telling ourselves, but everything that you can possibly tell yourself becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? But what happens, and unfortunately, our friend Paul, and I might get him later in the week and give him a bollocking, actually, because he's a naughty boy, Paul. But what Paul's doing is he creates a self-fulfilling prophecy, because number one, he thinks it's got to be a magic pill or it's not true, right? If they don't get instant results. See, if Paul was a farmer, right, he'd plant the seed, and then after 2 weeks, you know what he'd go and do? Nothing come from it. He'd dig it up. He'd dig it up and have a look. So, well, no roots and that on there, and he'd plant it again. And it's like, because he can't believe that there's anything happening, because he can't see anything. And that's like these teachings, right? We keep sort of saying, oh, it's not working, but we can't see what's going on behind the scenes. You've got to plant your seed and allow it to grow, right? But that's where we all get confused, because there's no instant results. If you totally embrace this, you will see an immediate change. Not totally to get you to where you're going, because that's a journey, but you will see immediate change, because all of a sudden you're changing your outlook, you're changing your vibration, and you'll change your results. You can't change your thoughts without changing the result, because it's a simple process. Your thought creates a feeling, creates an emotion, and your emotion creates your result. Frightened, scared, worrying about paying the bills, what's the result? Frightened, scared, worrying about paying the bills. Okay, now if you are, as I say, this isn't magic. So if you're really in a deep hole, okay, and you've got to change your thoughts, you say, oh yeah, I changed my thoughts, I'm thinking about, I'm not in this deep hole and I've got a shitload of money. That ain't gonna happen. You got to be sensible, because there will be a process, but you will see things and you'll see moves that you're not seeing now, because opportunities are always there, but we don't see them because we're in such a bloody rush, and they don't resonate with us because we ain't got a clue where we're going. The amount of people say to me, I'm lost, and I said, well, where are you going then? And they say, I ain't got a clue. So how can you be lost? So you've got to know where you're going, and that finds you out. So on that point, what I'll do for those that don't know it, and you can't see this too much, even if you've seen it before. I've seen it once or twice before. After 30 years of teaching, observing results and doing it, let me tell you one thing. There is a 100% guaranteed formula for success. Anyone interested in seeing it? One or two of you. Right. We've already spoken about this. Clear mental image. That is your vision. That is your focus. All right. Now, possibly a good 75% of you, if I tell you to create what you want in the future, you won't be able to do it. You'll be able to create what you think you can get. Right? See the difference? Because you say, oh, well, yeah, because immediately that you form this, you're thinking back of how it will happen. Well, if you know how it's going to happen, why ain't you got it already? Right? So no one knows how things are going to happen, but they happen a lot quicker. As I say, you've got a lot more chance of hitting your target if you know what you're aiming at. But everyone's out there saying, oh, well, this hasn't happened or that hasn't happened. But the reason it hasn't happened is because they don't know where they're going. And it's always a good check to know. Now, when you create your clear mental image, it's got to be what you want. Now, when I'm talking to Steve and Michaela, a lot of the time we're talking about being on holiday, drinking pina coladas and the business running back here, right? So that's all part of the thing, because as long as we can keep those dreams and those visions alive, there's no way known that they're not going to happen, right? But what we tend to do is we tend to let the mundane things get in the way, but you've got to have that firmly up there in your mind. So create a clear mental image of what you want, not what you think you can get. Two totally different things. So if it's a nice house overlooking the ocean with goats and sheep and all that, and that's what you want, that's what you've got to put in your clear mental image. Don't make it about money. I don't want money in it at all. I just want money, right? What you can do with the money. Okay, so that all your vision is that all financial restrictions are off. All time restrictions are off. This is what you see your life being. And make it 10 years. Then that takes the pressure off. Might be a lot quicker than that. I don't know, because I ain't got a clue. But make that nice and clear. Then, as I said earlier, you've got to bring it back to here. Who remembers the holiday brain? Do you remember that when I said how you can think about the holiday and enjoy it now? So this up here is your vision, your goal, your desire, where you want to end up, and you bring it back to here. So you enjoy it now. So you're not separated. You've still got integration with your body. You're not continually somewhere else, because you're thinking about this now as it definitely happening. Okay? Enjoying it now. The same way you enjoy your holiday. So, well, that'd be all right, lovely. I'm looking forward. I'm going to decorate how I'm going to do the kitchen up and all that. So now you've got to be here. Now, the biggest problem that we all have is that we're never present. We're always thinking of being somewhere else. We're always looking at someone else, what they've got. We're all comparing ourselves. So we're never, ever present. So one of the main rules of this science of success is to make where you are where you want to be, right? So that you're not constantly going, oh, I wish I was over there, or when I've got this. If it's financial restraints, we can't change that immediately, but anything you can do to make your place where you are, your life now better, do it. And even down to a thing as silly as a squeaky gate. Where, you know, that thing, that little job, what you always say, when I get around to it, I'll do that when I get around to it. Do it. So that as much as possible, where you are is where you want to be, and you're totally at peace with it. And if you want to be somewhere else and you can do it, make the decision. Remember how important the decision is? Because you're not stressed, but your anxiety about if you want to be somewhere else and you can actually do it and you don't, you will create anxiety because you're saying, well, you know, should I, shouldn't I, should I? If it's possible and you're worried about making a decision and deep down you really know that's what you want to do it. And you see what happens. All of a sudden, everything changes. So make where you are where you want to be. That is so important. All right. And then the third thing, there's only 3 things. How simple can you make it? Look. And then what you do is you get rid of all the crap in the past. Because do you know what we do with stuff from the past? And it's an excuse for something going wrong today. And Steve and Michaela will find loads of people who say, well, how's things going, mate? All right, but if it wasn't for that divorce, things would be all lovely. So when was the divorce then? Oh, 10 years ago now. Oh, that's Andy, that's a good thing, dragging that round with you for 10 years. How's that working for you? Right? So get rid of all that. Yeah, but it was unfair. No, that's what's happened. That's the result. Deal with it. I thought it was unfair when a bloke nicked a multi-million-dollar business off me. I thought it was unfair and I dragged that around with me for ages. Spun me wheels, couldn't get anywhere. And until such time as I let go, right, I wasn't going anywhere. So get rid of everything. If it's a person, forgive them. And if it's an event, get rid of it. It's not serving you. The only thing you want from the past are memories and knowledge. That's all. So when you go into the past and you're having a bit of a cleanup, bring all the good memories with you, because one day they'll be all you got, right? So bring all the good memories with you and leave all the rubbish in the past, and the knowledge and the wisdom, bring it with you. So that's the 3 things to do. Know where you're going and make it where you want to go, not where you think you could possibly get. Make where you are where you want to be. That is so important. If the little things like you say, oh, I might get around to painting that wall one day, do it. Do it. So the more that you do to you where you are, the more peaceful it is when you're not constantly trying to escape and get rid of all the crap in the past. Then once you've got this, all the add-ons, you see, once you've got this, and this is especially for our friend, was it Charlotte, Plan B, right? So when you know where you're going, right, if you go off track, if you detour, right, you can get back on track. But you see, most of you are here, and any road will do, because you don't know where you're going. So that's why you stay in turmoil for so long, because you can't judge whether you've made any change or any improvement. Does that make sense? Right? Because you don't know where you're going. So that's it. And we get confused with destination and direction. We're all going, whatever you do, you're going in a direction. But if it's not going towards where you want to be, it's not serving you. But this could be a motorway, cul-de-sac, country, anywhere, any road will do if you don't know where you're going. But if you know where you're going, you can get back on track, right? So you know exactly whether you're on track or not, because you know where you're going. And what happens is that everything along the way, right, these are opportunities, okay? Opportunities, they're always there, okay? But if you know where you're going, that makes sense. Take that opportunity. That's a good opportunity. I always say the story about if you are starting a business, God forbid you're going to retail and you need a shop, right? You drive through any high street at the moment, you're going to see bloody thousands of them, right? If you're looking for one, you will see it and it will resonate and you'll immediately do the thing. Would that work? Would that work? Is that it? Okay. Now, I don't need a shop. So how many shops will I see as I drove through the high street? I know, Dan, great answer, but I'll see them all. But they won't resonate because I'm not part of my journey, see? So I won't Do you see how it filters it? So I'll see them all, but they won't resonate because I don't need one. And it's the same with everything. You know, an opportunity should be something that enhances your journey towards your worthy goal, right? But we tend to pick everything up, don't we? All the old mug with a broken handle, or keep that just in case. That could be an opportunity later. And all the things that we go through in life, what we carry on and we say they're an opportunity, but they're not. So once you know where you're going, you get this filtering system. Okay. Now, the biggest thing that happens, I get asked on a regular basis. Okay. Now, you ready for this? How do I get from here to there? And you know what I tell everyone? I ain't got a fucking clue. Right? Now, hey, what's he doing sitting there teaching? I ain't got a clue. But I'll tell you something with my hand on my heart. Provided you know where you're going and you know where you are, you'll know how to take the next step. It will make sense. And then do you know what you get to the end of that next step? Do you know what you can do then? You know what you'll know? You'll know that. So the how is a series of hows where you will know exactly when it happens. It will make sense and it will resonate because you know where you're going. Now, none of this is 5-minute job, and all the like the stuff that we've been talking about. It's an ongoing thing. Now you can see my passion. I don't know if it comes across, the excitement that I have about it, because there's nothing I love more than letting you know how powerful you are and what you can achieve, right? And I've been doing it every day virtually for almost 30 bloody years. And if I'm not teaching, I'm talking to someone about it, or I get a phone call, I'm thinking of new ways, because none of this is mine. This is thousands and thousands of years old, these teachings, and they've stood the test of time, and they've been taken by different people and turned into a religion to try and control people. And different people have written about it. I mean, there's more books than you can shake a stick at that have written about this. Nothing's new. Trust me, nothing's new. The only thing is you've got to find someone who you resonate with and stick to one teaching, because everyone's trying to complicate it. But take any book off your shelf, right? And you will find it tells you about a goal. It tells you about living in the now, and it tells you about forgiveness. The only thing that you can do is you can find one thing that resonates with you. And that book for me was The Science of Getting Rich, which got me out of so much trouble because I set about proving it all wrong, trying to say it was all rubbish. And the more I tried to prove it wrong, the more I learned. And the more I learned how much control that I have actually got over what happens to me in my life. I'm in control, right? And it's sometimes, you've got to give yourself a bit of a talking to, especially through these times at the moment, because we're having trouble. You see, the thing is that thinking about this with COVID and everything, right? We're all talking, well, what on earth's going to happen? What's on earth's going to happen? Well, I've already told you that every single problem that you've ever had, you've got over, right? So, the fact of anything, happening between here and there, you'll get over it. So if you're having trouble picturing your CMI and you're putting a few problems, put them here as a hurdle, but make sure that you've got that at the other side. Let me just explain something to you. Is that clear? That you sure? Right. So let me just show you something else. I spoke a bit earlier about transitional disruption. And these names are things that I've given it. That's my little spin on it. So that when you think, oh, God, that's that, or that's circular thought, or that's this, that's just my spin on it, right? What I'm actually teaching is virtually, just how I've worked out how to make it work for me. So transitional disruption. Okay. Now, who's here now in turmoil? They don't know which way to turn. It's all who's going through that? Anyone? Right, listen carefully. listen carefully, because Uncle Croz has got a little secret for you. All the time, right? And I'll put this on here. Let's just write that on there, just to prove I'm still right. Transitional disruption. You cannot, nearly, that's close enough, isn't it? I think I've got an eye missing there. Like, you cannot make change without disruption. So what's happening in all the people that are in this place at the moment, you can't see a way forward, right? Plan A, science of success formula, that is your way forward. Because if you are in disruption, right, you're doing that. But if you've got that, the other side, you've got something to aim at, right? So the biggest cure, and this is medically proven, for depression is hope. You give someone who's depressed hope, and the depression starts to lift, because this disruption here, depression, anxiety, stress, all that there is carrying on because there's no hope. So what you've got to do, all those people that put their hand up have got to make sure that they've got such clarity of something the other side, because the road through is knowing where you're going. And I liken it, Val and I have always done a bit of property. It's a bit of a weakness we got. We didn't have Lego when we were kids, so we did it with real properties. But I never forget one day when we was in Australia and we was doing a place, and it was a bit of a major reno, like absolutely the whole lot. And a geezer come in and he went, because in Australia, funny enough, when we first got there, they didn't do much renovating, because if it wasn't new, they didn't want it. It was, you know, because it's such a new country that there's all so much land that people just kept buying new stuff. But we started doing renovations, and he walked in and he went, bloody hell, what a bloody mess. Well, of course, all the walls had knocked down. There was scaffold poles and bloody acros holding things up. He couldn't see it, but I explained it to him and he still couldn't see it, right? But when I went there, or we went there every day, we didn't see anything other than the finished article. What kept us going was every time we did something, it was closer to what it was going to be when it was finished. So we went through and said, the sofa will be there, or the kitchen will be there, and that. So do you see how important it is? The way out of any disruption, any anxiety, any stress or depression is to give yourself somewhere to aim at. And if you're having trouble, with a long-term CMI, make something a bit shorter. Like with a renovation, we just saw the thing finished. We didn't see it sold and someone else living in it 10 years up the track. We just saw it finished. So if you're going through that at the moment, give yourself something the other side, right? And you'll find that the minute that you do that, and that could be something as simple as saying, right, you're going through all that, book an holiday. To say, once I get through there, as soon as I finish getting all this rubbish sorted, we're going on holiday, or we're doing something. Get something to aim at, and you'll find that things will change almost immediately. Right. And the other problem that people have, and is this resonating with anybody? Good. Okay. The other problem that we have is that, especially in business, we get a situation whereby we're always in a rush to get from here to there, right? Now, business starts with, there's 4 setups that I use for business. There's 4 steps, and that's struggle. It's where you are, Becky, at the moment. Struggle. Then once you get through the struggle, once you've got out of survival mode, you go into what I call the striving mode, which is joyful, right? Because you know it works, then you go on to the next step and it's joyful. And that's the bit where you can't wait for things to happen. You know what's going to happen. It's like my daughter there, Ellie. She can't let her job unfold quick enough. She, what she's doing, her new business, and it's all happening. And she won't stay there and just allow it to all happen. You haven't got to chase anything in life, because anything that you chase will run away. And I don't care whether that's money, a woman, whatever, a house, anything. If you're chasing it, it will run away. You've got to allow it to come to you, right? Or allow your journey to take you there. Make sense? So it's all a case of just calming into it. So the biggest problem in most businesses is we're here and we're rushing to get here. Okay. Now take solace. Whatever step you're on, enjoy it, because it is your protection. It's your insurance against the future, right? And I liken it to, you remember our friend that nicked my business? I'll put him here, hands on his hip, big smile on his face because he nicked all my money, big ears and a nice little haircut. Now, that's him there, right? That's a rough thing. That's not exactly what he looked like, but it's good enough for this illustration. Now, he nicked the business that, we actually purchased that business years before and built it up, but he nicked it and he went up here. Okay. So he thought he'd done well because he'd gone from the bottom to the top in one jump. Now that don't often work, because I asked the question, how many of you have ever stood at the bottom of your stairs at home and pondered the thought of actually jumping to the top in one go? You wouldn't do it, would you? And yet we're always in a bloody rush in life. We want to miss out the steps. And you can't skip the steps because they're your insurance. And this is a classic example. Here's him up here. Great, big smile on his face. Everything's lovely. But when things started going wrong, he went down to here. Now, because he hadn't been on that step before, which way do you think he went? Like that. Like that. Until he's back where he was. And he'll always be in a situation, right, where he'll rue the day that he started here, went up there and fell down, because we met him years later. And he would have been in a much better position if he'd have just let things unfold without trying to cheat and bump and bore. But we forgave him, which was our way forward. As I said to you before, you've got to fig everything in the past, which was a big one for me, because there still wasn't many days when I didn't want to beat the crap out of him. So that was a real big one, that forgiveness. But that was a release for us to move forward once we did it. And if you get my book at any time, which is on sale at all good bookshops, you will read the story and see the actual letter that I wrote to him. So don't be in a rush, because your journey up is your protection, so that if things go a little bit wrong, right, I can be helpful to people in business because I've been up the steps, right? And I don't particularly want to go up and down them anymore because I've had me a bit of time. Now I just like doing things like this and helping other people. And the thing is, you see that those steps is the knowledge that I impart to my clients, right? It's the things that I would do, which they ain't been up the steps. So providing they trust me, everything that I give them is relevant. And that's why our friends, Steve and Michaela, have just sold their first thing for 10 grand, and they will go on to sell. That's now their little living. But the thing is, the knowledge is, don't go and sell too many till you've bedded them in. That's all advice, right? So you can't rush it. You've just got to allow things to happen. Do it properly, because this is something that will shock you. Guess what ruins most businesses? Who can guess? What ruins most businesses? Anyone want to have a guess?
Missing steps.
No, success. Now that's shocked you all, isn't it? Success ruins more businesses. Like with, you imagine now that Steve and Michaela, they got their first one where they've done a few like dummy run type things, cheap ones like licenses. Now that one, now the temptation now is, oh, 10 grand for nothing. Let's go and get a few more. No, let's go and get one more, take them through the journey, right? Because if they went and had like, went and got, which I think it's possible with the right marketing, we could more likely go and get 10 or 12 people, but that'll ruin the whole thing because we're rushing it. Does that make sense? Right? So the thing is, don't ever be in too much of a hurry. Allow yourself to catch up, right? One of the things about relaxing is life has a chance to catch up with what you're doing, right? But we all try, and it's like that thing, what I said, that joy. When you're in the striving stage, you want things to happen so quick, but really everything unfolds at a perfect pace, provided you allow it to do so, right? So never be in a rush. The lovely bit, the lovely feeling that you get, you know, the tingle about, oh, we're onto something here, we're going, just allow that to work for you, because that little tingle is the vibration going out there, giving the message, right? That's where you are. And that will attract whatever you need to go to the next step. The minute you try and rush it, chase it, or force things, it'll go wrong. So just allow yourself to unfold, and every single part of every step is valuable information for when you get to the top. And then when you get up there, then you start teaching other people and helping other people, because there is no mystical stuff. This is all logic. But the thing is, the biggest problem is, it's the hardest thing that you ever have to do, because it flies in the face of everything that you know, everything that you've been taught, right, by the well-intentioned people that have programmed you to date, right, has got you to a situation where you start doubting yourself, right? Who doubts, who's going to have trouble creating their CMI? Who's going to have trouble, right? So Simon, what I'd say to you, right, is you'll create something that will be something that you think you know how to get. So all bets are off. Create what you want. And if it's an house, a move up the road, or the bigger house, horses in the garden for the kids, whatever it is, get it. And there's no financial restriction, right? Because the biggest thing will be that we see, as I say, everyone looks at it and they want to work out how they're going to do it. Well, if you knew how to do it, you wouldn't need any of this stuff. You just go and do it. You just write a plan. If you knew how to do it, you'd have a plan, A and B, Charlotte. No, you just have plan A, because you know exactly how to do it. So you don't need none of this, right? But this is guaranteed 100%. Once you know, it's so exciting. And I should think Chris at the moment, anything that he could have thought of when we first met has been exceeded tenfold, right? He actually, I mean, the funniest thing is that when we first met, in fact, Chris, if you'd have let things happen how you planned it, you'd just to be now looking at the brochures for the kitchen. True?
Yeah, I don't think I'd even bloody have it, to be fair. I think it'd still be with the old, nothing had changed. Nothing in the house, and what I've done would have happened, because I'd have been waiting for something that was never going to happen.
But the thing is that the subliminal plan was, in a couple of years' time, I'd do that. So I just said, well, why not now? Why not now? He said, what? And then for a lot of the times on our first few things, we was discussing kitchens and what sort of units and all that. And once you got the vision, and then all of a sudden, we said, well, okay, you ain't got the money in the pot at the moment. The funny thing is, you could do it cash now if you wanted to, but I would advise him not to. But so we just a little bit of finance, because that's what he wanted. And then the thing is, you see, you've rewarded yourself. Every time he goes in that kitchen, our beautiful kitchen, he's rewarding himself for the work he's putting in. He's not waiting, he's rewarding himself, which is so important. What I said to you earlier, there's no one more important than you. So you've got to keep treating yourself so that you know it's all worthwhile. Struggle Street, that ain't a good place to be. You've got to make sure you look after yourself. So then when he's done it, it's like, who's got a mortgage? Right. Do you remember when you first got it? And you thought, bloody hell, that not a lot of money. How am I going to do that? How am I going to pay that every month? And your mind's sort of going into this, that, and the other. Yeah, 2 or 3 months into it, guess what? You don't even think about it. True? It's just part of the journey. So you don't think about it now. It just happens, because what you do is you create a void, right? And then automatically things go about filling. It might be a bit difficult to start with because we always overstretch ourselves a little bit, don't we? So we'll do that, we'll have that, we'll do this, that, and the other. But don't hold back, spoil yourself, do it. And if you've got to put it on a little bit of finance for that, do it and allow it to all unfold, because you're rewarding yourself on a daily basis. It's like when people go and buy a car, and for £5 they can have not the one they want, but it's a bit cheaper. I said, no, pull the stops out and get the one you want. Because if you buy the one you don't want, every single time you get in it, you'll punish yourself for not buying the one you wanted, because you'll have gone, bloody hell, things have changed now. And I still got this one. I ain't got the windows that go up and down automatically, or the foo-foo valve on the back, and all the other different bits and pieces. See, so always treat yourself to what it is you want, and as much as possible, try not to sort of do the budget job. I annoy Val sometimes. I sort of, say, well, let's have that one. Well, we could have them, but there could be no. Let's have that nice thing in that. But she's a lot better now, though. She's a lot better now. So we're doing a bathroom. Don't need it, but we just thought to do it because we're bored because of COVID. So we're going to have a new bathroom. So we're having a bit of fun choosing all that now. But it's all a game, isn't it? It's only a game. So is that clear? Don't try and skip the steps. Wherever you are is perfect for this to work. Just make sure you don't try and rush things. Just allow things to come to you. All right? All clear on that one? Right. Now, who's got anyone that has annoyed them, who they should forgive, but they're finding it difficult? Anyone? No one? No one got anyone in the past that has done them wrong that they need to forgive? Well, that's handy. Oh, Becky. Becky, tell me about your forgiveness, what you're having trouble with.
So this is an interesting one. Sorry, I'm using up a lot of your time today, but
that's all right. I'm sure everyone's interested. We're all nosy bastards, really. We just want to hear what's going on. Right.
So I guess my forgiveness is with my mum's side of the family at the moment. My mum has mental health issues, and she's unable to see them herself.
Right.
We had to section her and get her sectioned against her will about 6 weeks ago.
Right.
And it's been difficult because my mum's side of the family immediately were quite in denial about the whole situation. I managed to talk them round to some extent and explain what had happened and why she was sectioned. She was extremely delusional, and she'd had a complete psychosis and completely broken away from reality.
Yeah.
So they understood that, but now they've kind of, my mum's side of the family have gone back to, denying that there is any sort of a problem, which is detrimental to my mum's well-being in a way, because that means that she's going to be less likely to be able to be receptive to treatment when she's in denial herself as well. So for me, that's been quite hard to.
So who is it you feel you can't forgive?
I guess my aunt and my grandma, because they've seen my mum do this on more than one occasion. You know, they've seen her in various different states over the years, and they just, even though they're presented with her reality and the situation, they're reluctant to want to help her.
Right. So were you close to Auntie and Gran prior?
Yeah, relatively.
And now you're not?
I'm finding it difficult to bury the hatchet. Well, actually, no, I just want to get the hatchet out, to be fair.
Right. So you want to have the discussion?
Yeah, exactly.
So all right. So prepare yourself with what you want to say, right? And say it. And then deal with what happens as a result of the conversation. Because at the moment, you're actually trying to solve something that you're imagining what might happen after the conversation. True?
Yeah.
Right. So you're trying to solve something that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So deal in real. Work out what you want to say. Because some forgivenesses is, you know, there's people don't want to have the conversation. They're just saying what they did was terrible. And that's quite easy because you haven't got to have that interim occasion. You say, well, I do forgive you. And that's got to be unconditional, the forgiveness, to be able to move on. But in your case, I would suggest that you have the conversation, right? Then whatever happens as a result of the conversation is real. Okay? Because you're the other side at the moment. You're trying to solve what might happen. And you really need to solve what has happened. So just prepare yourself, have the conversation and present what you want to say and deal with whatever happens.
Yeah.
All right?
Thank you. Yeah, I think I do to just.
Welcome. Let me know what goes on. And if you have any trouble, I'll go and beat them up for you. Right. Anyone else got a problem with forgiveness? Anyone? Oh, there we go. Oh, that's our little friend down here, which is Victoria. How are you going, Victoria?
I'm good, thank
you. Enjoying yourself?
I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. So I got everything you've been saying just resonates so much. And I don't tell people what I do and then don't make sales and then just sit in survival. So I've got a lovely little cycle going around because if I just spoke up and had belief in myself, we'd be all right. But it comes from, I'm a women's health coach.
Right.
And I do a lot of hormones, women's hormones.
Right.
And I got told on a training course a few years ago by someone that I really admired that I had no right to talk about that.
Right.
And I think that's what holds me back.
Okay. So what encouraged them to say that?
Because she was menopausal when she couldn't deal with it.
Yeah. So she took it out on you.
Yeah.
Right.
But I took it personally.
Okay.
And I believed her when she said that I had no right to do my job.
So there's a classic situation there. No one can annoy or upset you. You always annoy or upset yourself by what you do with what's been said. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, if you can give yourself all the reasons and excuses you want, you've took it on board. So let's unwind it a little bit. What did she say you had no right doing?
Talking about the menopause.
Right. Okay. Why was that?
Because I hadn't gone through it myself.
Right. So do you feel that you need to have gone through the menopause to be able to talk about it?
No, because I've invested a lot in education and I've already helped a lot of people.
Right. Now, from what I know, every single person's menopause is different.
Yep, exactly.
Right. So therefore, the question would be, does the woman that said you shouldn't be talking about it know every single permutation that could possibly happen?
No, she was just having a rough time.
So she's talking a load of rubbish, isn't she? So the best thing you can do is to just wipe that out, because, you know, if if you really feel that that's the situation, right, then you got to feel sorry for her, right? Because she's the one who's ignorant. Because, as I say, no one could know every single aspect of the menopause, right? So, you know, you're as good as anybody else to talk about it because, you know, you've studied it and learned about it. So you've just got to ignore that one. So what, are you having trouble at the moment then, getting hold of work and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, I'm probably like Sonia, I don't value myself.
Right.
Like I know I'm good at what I do because I get results to clients that I work with. I
Yeah.
don't work with enough clients because I don't tell them what I do because I don't believe in myself enough. Because
Well,
I've got no right to do this voice.
So you've had some successes?
Yeah.
You got a testimonial?
Yeah.
Where's that?
Occasionally I put it on social media, but
Right.
I'm quite good at building.
So if anyone wants to know how good you are, they got to go looking for it, have they?
Yeah.
They ain't got it in a drawer anywhere, have you? That they
Well,
locked up.
No, I mean it's just about findable.
Right. Okay. We'll dig it out. Was it on video?
No, it's just written.
All right. Well, if you can get it on video, do it because that's a lot better, right? If you got a few people, go and talk to them and say, "Would you do that?" Right? Then all of a sudden, whatever anyone says, you've got proof that what you do helps people. Right? Then all you've got to do is, what are the two processes that you've got to worry about? Let me check if you were listening now.
I've got to get my marketing and get my sales. I've got
Right, okay. So testimonial can come in either, but it's best in the marketing. Right? So get it out, or however many you've got, try and get it on video, right? And then work out a process of them, how many people that you can tell, as many people as you can. And I tell you what, there ain't no shortage of people having a bit of trouble with the menopause. I shouldn't think you have a shortage of clients. So, and that's the other problem, you see, we get this scarcity thing, don't we? Whatever any of you are doing, there's thousands of people that need your help. Thousands, right? It's just a case of you baiting Europe properly. Yeah. That's your marketing. So what I want you to do, I want you to dig out your testimonials, forget that woman that said that in the past. You've got to be convinced yourself. So if she's wobbled you that much, let me ask you a very deep searching question. How truthful are you being with yourself about how good you are?
I don't believe it myself. You
don't believe you're any good?
No, I can't do, because that's why I took it so personally. Because it was like all she saw.
Okay.
Oh, she saw I was an imposter, maybe.
No, I wasn't asking about what she saw.
No, but that,
because I've just told you earlier, we all see different things.
Yeah.
Until we're guided into the answer, then we all see the same thing, right? So she saw what she saw. She didn't see what you feel. So if you really feel that you ain't no good, guess what?
People are going to believe it as well.
You ain't no good. So you've got to say, oh, so you studied?
Yeah.
What marks did you get?
Well, it was just it's just a standard coaching qualification.
All right. So you passed?
Yeah.
So someone thought you knew what you were talking about.
Yeah, I've got the questions.
And if they were teaching it, I should think they know as much as the woman who said you couldn't do it. So that eradicates her opinion, doesn't it? So the best thing to do is eradicate her opinion and just concentrate on the one who thinks you're all right.
Okay, that's a fair point.
All right. So all of a sudden, you took a different spin on it. The person that you went to learn thinks you're all right, but some old tart comes up and just out the blue randomly says you ain't, and you've took her word for it.
I think it's because I really valued her as a professional until that point.
Well, she might have been having a bad day.
I think she probably was, and I was
right.
Just
okay, well, forget it. Listen, the thing is, you see, is insecurity. If you start taking on board what everyone thinks about you, you're snookered. You've got to be confident 100% confident in what you can do. I mean, in the last 30 years, how many people do you know that knew, sat in an audience with me, said, I know loads more than him, right? But the thing is, it's what you do with what you know.
Yeah.
Right? So people sitting in the audience who sort of could read every book, which is the worst thing you can do when you're trying to learn self-development, is read every book available, because it would drive you insane eventually. So I would say to you, right, that forget that woman, and if she's an, forgive her, because she's, that's it. Forgive her. So she didn't know what she didn't know me. She didn't know. I forgive you and move on. Concentrate on the other woman, right? And then go out there and start making a bloody noise.
Okay.
Right? How many people could you take on at the moment?
I've got loads because I've hardly got any work.
Well, all right. How many?
I could at least I can do 5 a week easily, and that's still with loads of time to spare.
All right. Well, there's your first target. Right? You go out next, and not this week, because we're going to get yourself sorted out with your testimonials, all that, and then go and shout it out. Be loud and proud. And the week after, next week, get yourself 5 people.
Okay, thank you.
Because you're convinced that you are going to be able to help them. That's all you've got to do. Know that you can help them. All right?
Thank you.
Let me know how you get on. Anyone else? Anyone else got anything to say? No?
Yeah, hi Croz, it's Dan here.
Oh, hello, Dan.
Hello, mate. Yeah, right. So in terms of forgiveness, I'm pretty good with forgiving people, because I know I know the end goal when you forgive someone, that you can, like, releasing the chains almost.
That's it, yeah.
But I see it in my mum all the time. I mean, cries regularly over my dad, and they broke up like 35, nearly 40 years ago. But so she's got a loving husband. She's got a really nice, she's not very well, but she's got a good life. She's got everything she needs, and she still cries a lot about my dad. So any advice on how I can help her specifically? Because it seems like
what are the tears for? Does she told you?
She hasn't really told me. She just gets very upset every time his name's mentioned. And often it's her that drops the name as well when we chat. But she just seems to hold a lot of negative energy around him and the life that he had and the life that she had and the life that she's given us. Now, I don't hold that doesn't hold any bearing on me, but she holds on to it like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, well, my advice to you, Daniel, it's very difficult for you as a third party situation but to help her, you need to sit her down and say, what is it that's upsetting you? Once you know what it is, right, then you can sort of start trying to help her with, giving her a bit of advice or whatever. I mean, has he sort of gone on and got a better life than what she's got at the moment, do you think?
I don't know. It just depends. It totally depends on how you see success, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
She may see his life as successful, but I mean, I wouldn't say it is necessarily
could she see his life as successful?
Potentially more fun. Yeah, he's been around the world. He's been married a few times. She's been very much stuck here in England, working her socks off all of her life.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that I would suggest that you just sit her down and say, what is it, Mum, that makes you have these feelings? Right? And then you can start working away at that. But find out what's making her do it for the thing. But a lot of times in situations like this is that one partner looks at the other one and thinks, fucking hell, if only I'd have stayed, I'd have been all right, which can, drive you insane, can't it, eventually? So I'd find out what it is that's making her upset and deal with that.
Thank you, Croz. That's
all right. Okay. Anyone else got anything there with any forgiveness issues? Yeah, Carla?
Actually, it's not a forgiveness thing. It's just something I just wanted to shout out, really. Do you remember our conversation, our telephone conversation in August? Last August.
I will, as soon as you refresh my memory.
I was actually in Devon at the time.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
And I had 2 conversations. I had a conversation with you, and then actually went and met Brad, funny enough. And Something just to sort of really to share it. A lot of people do actually know this on already on here. Well, a few of you are already on here. But I've wanted to move to Devon for the last 20 years, and from the Herts and Essex, so it's 200 odd miles up the road, and there was always a reason that I couldn't. And both you and Brad had actually turned around and said, "What's stopping you?" Well, you know. And the other half, it was like, let's look at that in 18 months' time. And both of you said, "Why not now?" Just to say, that was the end of August, and that became a reality on the 5th of December last year. So I'm actually staying in the house that I stayed in August, and it's a house that I always wanted to live in. I had my hem weekend here. And I've never believed I'd move here. So it's just, I've never believed in myself. I still do struggle with it. I still actually pinch myself that I am actually here. But yeah, just really to put it out to people that it was conversations with Croz and with Brad that.
And let me just ask you one thing, right? That was a result of making a decision.
Yeah.
The other side of every decision is normally peace and harmony. Whatever you do, once you've made it, the biggest fear is making a decision, right? So if you just get in the habit of making the decision, then you get to the other side and you deal with it. It's like, who were we talking to then? What was it? Veronica. Was it Veronica who was the menopause?
Victoria.
Victoria. It's an age thing. Yeah, but the thing is that she has got to make the decision now, right? To forget about the other lady, right? Get on with what she's got to do. And the other side of that, because, you know, it's the moving on. It's the catalyst of everything, is to just make that decision. Most of our fear is a fear of making a decision, making a choice, fear of what's the other side. But once you actually confront it, right, fear is really a bit of a bully. You know, when you actually confront fear, it's, you know, it's not a very powerful thing, really, only the power that we give it. And that's the biggest problem, is we give it so much power that it sort of takes over. All right. So thanks for mentioning that. But as I say, that's all you're doing. You made the decision, right? And the first decision was asking someone for help. That's always a difficult decision to make. But listen, you know, if you ask the right people, it makes it go on. How's life now? You've frozen up there, Carla.
Yeah, it's good. I'm getting used to like dial-up internet. But sorry,
dial-up internet. That sounds like a bit of fun.
It's just apart from it, the internet down here is a little bit like dial-up. So I've had a few squeaky bum times with the internet, but yeah, it's brilliant. It's the best thing I ever did. I'm missing my children at the moment, but it's the best thing I ever did. It was something that I've wanted to do for years. I put it out of my mind because, and then my internet's gone unstable now, typical. And then came here, and we came here in August, and it was a question I think both you and Brad put to me just out of the blue. And then at that point, I said to the other half, this is what we're doing. And he came up with all the reasons why not to. And I was so hell-bent on it happening. I don't know, by the time we went home, he was on board. I don't know how I managed to get him to do that, but yeah. And then we was in here in August.
And you've been worrying about what he was going to think, what he was going to say, if he'd do it, if he didn't do it. So listen, if you take nothing else from today, right, deal in real, right? Find out what the other person's thinking, right? Because then it's easy. Every single thing that's real is a doddle. The only hard ones are the ones that we keep imagining and thinking about, right? So if you take nothing else away from here today, deal in real. Okay? Right. Anyone else got anything? All good? Right. So I don't know how to do the this first little prize. I tell you what, just for a bit of fun, in the chat, just put who you think would benefit or would like this the most. You can even put your own name if you want. But who do you think deserves a prize out of what's happened today? Right? Put your names in there. Oh, Victoria, you're doing well at the moment. Oh, look at that, Becky, Victoria. Right. I hope you're adding these up, Val, are you? Who's what? Who's the winner, Val? Come on, keep going, keep going, keep going. Well, it is neck and neck, isn't it? Charlotte, you got a little shout out there, look. It's exciting, isn't it? We got a total, Val. Oh, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Right. Have either of you got kids? Right. Okay. Becky, you've got the mug which says, in our rush to give our kids what we never had, we often forget to give them what we did have. So that's yours. All right. And Victoria, you've got the sunk investment. Now, this is quite apt for you now, isn't it? Because you're starting again, aren't you? Right? With a renewed vigor. So
Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome. So you give me your address and I'll get that in the post tomorrow. And you give me your address, Becky, and I'll get that in the post tomorrow. All right. So there you go. So that's nice. So, you know, in summing up, I hope you've all enjoyed it. I've just sort of tried to sort of bask it through and just sort of give you a little thing. But all I want to say to you, look, is that everything that I've told you, I know is true. Not one of you, even you, Paul, has got something that's blocking it happening. It's just a case of you allowing it to happen. All right. And it ain't, think of them seeds that the planted by the farmer. Don't keep digging them up. It's all happening. All right. It's all happening. You've just got to allow it to happen. Okay. So there you go. That's it. If there's no questions, I'll say thanks a lot. Hope that's been of some use to you. And well, let's our paths will cross again in the future, hopefully. And if there's anything at all that you think of in the next few days or few weeks that you think I can help you with, just contact me and I'll do whatever I can to help you, because that's my mission in life at the moment. All right. Thanks very much, everybody.
Can I just say, well done. Thank you, Croz. That was amazing. Really, really helpful.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Croz.
Thank you.
Thank you, Val,
Thank
as
you.
well.
You're lovely.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.
I feel like I'm on ant and deck. Lovely.
Right. See you all.
Chief.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Don't forget to give us your address.
So I've sent them a message.
Oh, lovely.
I'm just looking for the email address. Sorry, I just want to copy it down. Is it the same one from the ticket that you emailed on earlier, Val?
Cross talks. Oh, hang on.
Thank you so much.
crosstalks@gmail.com.
Hey, Gordo, good to see you again, mate. Let's catch up soon.
Yeah, definitely. Cheers.
Message out. I've got a chat. Good to see you too. Well played. Well played, the Crosleys.
Oh, very well done, yeah.
How did you go?
Me?
Yeah.
I am playing all right. I'm playing all right.
Great. 'Cause yours hasn't closed. Val's got her thing in.
No, we've been open for a couple of weeks.
Yeah. We're not on again until the 28th.
The weather's been terrible, so it was.
That wouldn't stop me at the moment, I'll tell you.
Well, I would be as well kicking it round.
It's going to be better weather down south, though, isn't it?
That's brilliant.
See
All
you
right,
soon,
matey.
guys.
That's great. Richard, how did you get on? All right? Rich, he's gone. Oh, there he is. How did you get on?
Yeah, it's really good. I enjoyed it.
Good.
Good. I'm not sure if you can hear me. I've got printer running in the background.
Lovely. Nice. Music to my ears. Brilliant. Thanks for coming anyway. Cheers, matey. All right, Ellie?
She's gone. Sunhill wanted to ask one last question.
Oh, he's gone, hasn't he?
He's just popped in the chat box.
Right, what was that?
I'll message him. Hang on. No, he's left the meeting.
Oh, okay.
He put it up too late, actually.
So what?
Right. So.
Okay. Oh, put that. Stop recording.